Hello, friends. There is a new story brewing, and it's known as your life's greatest purpose. In the next few days, you'll be focusing on that goal, and by Wednesday, telling the Galactic Center that you are on board. It's all that and more with Namaste Today Live. Hello, my earthly neighbors. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. My name is Sensei Christopher Witecki. I am here as a cosmic comedian, here to teach you, coach you, and inspire you into the most serious joy you've ever encountered in your life. And that's just on a Friday. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, X.com, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. If you're in our chat room tonight, say hello to your brothers and sisters, your cosmic cousins, and tell us where you're from and what your astrology sign is. This week's top stories are: we have a full moon in Gemini over the weekend, where on Sunday night or Saturday morning, Saturday night, it's going to knock an old vision out of your third eye and leave space for another. Mercury will station direct, so we've got our technology and our thoughts back together. And the sun will square Neptune later this week, which means a shift in cosmic fate is also a shift in your earthly narrative. And then later tonight, spiritual teacher Dr. Michael Lennox is a psychologist, an astrologer, and an expert in dreams and dream interpretation. He describes himself as an ambassador to conscious embodiment. I want to know what that is. And Dr. Lennox is also the author of 4 books on dreams. His most recent is titled Psychic Dreamer. I'll be asking him how dreams and Sagittarius play into his coordination. But before we get into all that, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, December 14th to Friday, December 20th, 2024. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, this weekend is when you accept the new narrative and take it to heart. Let's drill down. On Saturn Day, it's cloudy and adjusting. Step 23 means Mercury rules the day. This is a day where you will believe you know, and you're opening up to what you have never imagined. By the by, there's a full moon overnight that's going to seal the deal. On Tuesday, after the intensity of the moon has passed, it's cloudy and peaceful. Step 24 indicates Venus rules the day. This is where you'll go back and forth in what you believe about your relationship to this new future and your relationship to this new vision for your future. You're also going to be balancing your manifest goals and probably in a bit of a full moon hangover, although the moon has now moved into Cancer. Looking ahead at the 5-day week forecast ahead, we take that new vision for our future, we commit to it, we tell the Galactic Center, and we hold space. On Monday, it's sunny and impassioned. Step 25 indicates Neptune direct rules the day. This is a day where you'll be feeling your higher calling and checking with God to make sure you're on the right path. By the end of the day, you will believe in your purpose and share your intentions with God and the universe. The moon shifts from Cancer to Leo, so by the end of the step, your heart is lighting up. On Tuesday, it's sunny and delighted. Step 26 means Saturn rules the day. You are large and in charge, and you are now believing in your devotion to this new future. You're also feeling new inspirations in yourself as the moon continues to transit through Leo. On Wednesday, it's sunny and gleeful. Step 27 means that Mars rules the day, and that's a Mars retrograde in Leo, with the moon also still in Leo. But the key here is the sun is conjoining the Galactic Center. Therefore, you are believing in your purpose and living larger than life. With the sun squaring Neptune, it also indicates a major change in your destiny and Earth narrative. On Thursday, it's cloudy and stirring. Step 28 means that the Earth is ruling the day. And the reason why you may be stirring is because you're waiting for this new vision to gel. You believe in your new era. You're thinking farther down the road, but you're waiting for things to change. And with Venus trining Jupiter, you're putting all the pieces together. And then on Friday, it's cloudy with a chance of storms. Step 29 means Chiron rules the day. You may be tested on anything you learned in the Sagittarius transit. The moon has also moved into Virgo, bringing light to every little crack in the details. This is a day where you must believe in miracles and become the new reality. And with Venus squaring Juno, it's sort of a square off between where boundaries must be and the vibe you want to live moment to moment.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, our Twitter channel, Instagram, or YouTube if you happen to be watching there. And on YouTube, hit the bell button so you're notified. And please, if you don't mind, like this post or like this video so the algorithm everywhere will promote us to where we truly belong. Namaste Today is sponsored tonight by Crystals by Crystal. These are amazing candles, folks. She was one of our major features and sponsors at Unite the Light year one. Her candles can be used for self-care, meditation, and manifestation. They are infused with Reiki energy and crystal. She's literally hovering over these and sending vibration into them. Candles are made with coconut wax and a blend of cotton wicks for the long-lasting burn with minimal soot. Obviously, this woman has put her mind into it and created a quality product that you can count on. Not to mention, it is non-toxic. Let's roll some video on some of her products.
So this whole weekend of Uniting the Light would not have been possible without Crystals by Crystal. A lot of those VIP bags that are floating around are just stuffed with goodies. We appreciate your support of Uniting the Light. Thank you times a million.
I created Crystal by Crystal because I struggled to hear my inner guidance. Sitting still was never easy for me, but lighting a candle changed everything. Now I combine the energy of fire, crystals, and Reiki to create candles that are more than decor. They are sacred tools for self-care and empowerment. These candles have transformed both my life and my customers' lives, and to deepen your journey, I offer private Reiki sessions. Save with code JOY20 at crystalbycrystal.com. Your transformation starts here.
I hope you saw that. The code is JOY20. We have put the QR code up at the bottom here. Crystal Ray makes everything by hand, literally. And she had to work pretty hard just for Unite the Light. She also does private Reiki sessions, and I'm sure she can suggest the right candle for the white vibration. White vibration. Sorry about that, Crystal. Right vibration. Anyways, check the QR code and check out the product. We talked about it with Scott yesterday's show in LOL. Scott loves them. He doesn't have any left, frankly. All right, friends. Well, we're so grateful for our sponsor. We have some more sponsors to talk about here internally with Serious Joy later. But I think it's now time to get on with those planets and transits, shall we? Deep into the planets and transits. I don't know if you heard that. Here we are with the section of our show where we dive deep with the planets and transits. And this week, we're going to be talking about where we are in the big picture of things. I was off the air 1 or 2 weeks in a row, frankly. One was for Thanksgiving. The other was because I was under the weather. Thank you for your love and your prayers and your patience with me. You know, I work pretty hard. We do this almost 52 weeks a year, so we're up a lot. But in that time on my back, I got a lot of time to actually think about things and sort of look at the cosmos and the big picture of life in different ways. And I realized a few things that I want to share tonight. First of all, you know, this week, overall is going to be an update of your renewed purpose. We're calling it a renewed life purpose is what's happening this week. Now, this is every year, frankly, because the sun and the late degrees of Sagittarius turn out to be your life's purpose, your mission, what gives you meaning and value, and what really inspires you to get up when you don't feel like getting up. You know, those high degrees of Sagittarius are what we believe with a twinkle in our star, a twinkle in our eye, like the twinkle of a star in our eye. And this is where we write movies to and anthems to. And this is part of the energy of Sagittarius that, you know, I think of like the Darth Vader theme, dum, dum, da-dum, dum, da-dum, a theme like that around a character and a story and that kind of richness. Those are the high degrees of Sagittarius. It's those big musical compositions that sort of illustrate the orchestra of our life and all of our stories and all of our characters. And to me, it's my favorite state of awareness. First of all, Sag, and my favorite decan in Sagittarius, the third decan. In fact, my North Node is in the third decan of my fifth house in Sag, well, actually in Capricorn. But the point is that, I don't know, I really am in love with what I'm meant to be focusing on, so I'm happy with that. It's what we call serious joy. When you are just in this amazing synchronicity with yourself, with others, with the universe, it's like a musical scene that has been basically choreographed by God. And that's what I believe serious joy is. I can come up with lots of terms for serious joy. I'm speaking to the service, of course, because that's designed to get you there. But I'm really speaking to the consciousness that was there long before Chris Witecki and serious joy. It's this high state of believing and dreaming, the highest form of dreaming, which to me, almost every song that I love is based on. And so it's in this space this year that we are blessed, you want to put it that way, blessed, with 2 major retrogrades. One, Mercury retrograde, which means our mind's a little drugged. As we retrograde, we look back, we review, we add up the pieces, we look where the story has been. So as we go to, update this story this year, we do so really looking back at our own story and what it's been, which gives us so much more visibility and wisdom to decide where it's going to go next. So we're blessed in that sense. That's a blessing. Another blessing, literally trining it, is Mars retrograde in Leo. Mars retrograde in Leo is also a strange blessing because, one, it's the ego. If there's one part of us that screws it up, it's that damn ego. We get defensive, we say something, we knee-jerk, we sabotage it. That's all Mars work, all based on sort of freaking out and overreacting or underreacting, waiting too long, and then overreacting or not reacting at all, making everyone confused. That's all ego stuff. But the ego is also kind of drugged right now because Mars is retrograde, which means our ego doesn't really feel like doing anything forward right now. Our ego almost is like an old man or an old woman that wants to reflect on the past. Now, where Mars is in the early degrees of Leo is the consciousness of self-love. That first decan of Leo is our capacity to love ourself, and via all the states of awareness. So how we love ourselves in our heart, step 1, and our feelings, step 2, and our beliefs, step 3. How we love ourselves about where we really belong. Do we stand up for ourselves for that? Do we have love behind our thoughts, step 5, behind our mirage, step 6? And that spectrum right there from 6 to 0 Leo is the spectrum of which Mars is retrograding. Mars continues to retrograde all through January and all through February. So it's going to move into Cancer. But in this early Leo energy, it's really asking yourself this question: is your ego doing things that loves yourself more? Or is your ego doing things that breaks you down? It's either loving you or it's not. It's very easy to judge. And ironically, the ego is the most judgmental part of us. So judge itself. Has it really been doing a good job, Mr. Dumbass? That's what I call the ego, the dumbass. Are you really doing a good job? Are you loving us, loving me the way we need to be loved? So that's another phenomenal moment about this year, because this year, not only are you going, what is my dream? What is my anthem for the future? You're also going, and have I been loving myself enough? Have I? That's a great question. And also Mars retrograde allows us to calm down a little bit and see things and slow down. And you may have had a lot of energy issues over the last week or so since Mars retrograded on December 6th. You might feel a little sluggish. That's because you're only going to really have energy for the things you love. Try it. You'll see for yourself. If it's something you love, you're going to perk right up and you're going to have all the energy to do it. And if it's something you don't love, like take out the garbage, you're going to feel so lazy, have no energy because your heart's not in it. You have to try this yourself at home, folks, to see if this is correct. You'll see this is the way it's wired. Now, what that does is it guides you to what you love. And so as we move forward in this next week or so, between now and my next broadcast, you may not have the energy, so keep thinking of different things until you feel the energy come online. Because when you feel the energy come online, that's an indication that your heart's into this. That's a good thing. And when your heart's into it, you have really unlimited energy to get it done. That's actually why I find myself in trouble all the time, frankly. I love so much what I do. I'm not kidding. I love it. So many facets of it, even little pieces of it, making graphics, that I will run myself sick into the ground, will not even eat or take time to sleep. Like, I have so much energy coming from my heart to do this, I can actually burn myself out. That's how much energy is available when you follow your heart. It's not just me. Now, I'm wired to turn the volume up as high as possible because I have the moon at 21, which is a Sagittarius degree of Leo. It's kind of a combination of what I'm saying today. Maybe that's why I'm so qualified to speak to it today, frankly. You're talking to a person who knows this energy very well. But as we move forward this week, what's ultimately happening here is with you asking, do I love myself enough? Do I do anything about it? And you asking, so what have I learned with this last chapter? And what does my story come to? What does my character come to? What's next for me? The sun, which is our heart, blasts forward in Sagittarius this week and ultimately exposes what we feel the future could be. Now, before it does that, before it blasts forward and explores what's possible, we actually have a full moon in Gemini over the weekend, which is going to expose what's not possible. And I say that because of the nature of a full moon. Frankly, full moons are a moment where we sort of separate. There's a tug of war on the earth. Emotions want to go this way. Heart wants to go that way. They're on opposite sides. Inside of ourselves, it's our heart and emotions fighting itself. Our heart's like, I want this, but I feel this. And so this is where we're trying to separate heart and emotion, a full moon. We put together heart and emotion on a new moon, and we birth something. And we're trying to just feel what's dead and what's alive, because what our heart doesn't want is dead. If your heart doesn't want it, nothing, you don't have the energy, trust me, to do it. This is why we're so unhappy in life. We've signed up to do things our heart doesn't want to do. Now you may go, well, everyone has to take out the garbage. Yeah, but if I just spend a day doing what I love and I take out the garbage, I have so much energy and happiness. If I spend the whole day putting together like car parts or something that I find really mundane, I would be basically having no patience for for taking out the garbage and want to throw a total hiss fit. My inner child would break down because it has to do more, right? So there's a huge difference to our management of energy and knowing how we work consciously and being able to channel that truth, which is that your ego needs to be on board the game, your mind has to be on board the game, your heart has to be on board the game. And if those all three are united, it's a good chance what your heart wants will happen, because the parts of you that take away from it or sabotage it will be in alignment. That's what I find so exciting about astrology, is it tells us when we have these moments. So your heart moves forward. Now, the full moon in Gemini, apex is, let me just go to my notes actually, apex is on Sunday, well really it's going to be Saturday night, Sunday morning, technically. So it's early Sunday morning, late Saturday night, we have this full moon in Gemini. And this full moon in Gemini is at 23 degrees, which is a Grandmaster Gemini degree if you don't know. And so what that means is that we're going to erase, because of that tug of war, we're going to pull away some vision, 23, some vision of what we thought the future was going to be, Gemini. Those high degrees of Gemini are your plans, your titles, your official recognition you get, your degrees, a diploma in this, a bachelor's in that. That's all the higher intellectual states of awareness. That's where we manage all of our higher intellect. Are you published, et cetera, right? Now, Jupiter in that space, first of all, means that we are expanding the mind's, hard drives right now. We're expanding how much we can process, how we process information, what information's worth looking at, what information's not worth looking at. Jupiter is retrograde, by the way, so we're actually rethinking what we should look or not look at, for the record. So the point is, the entire conscious of Gemini, you cannot trust it, so to speak, yet. Not the people, but the consciousness. Because we have so much change on top of a Mercury retrograde, we literally don't know what to think. And that's okay. That's the whole point. We don't know what to think because we're between chapters, between major story arcs in our life, this between. This week is when you really start to separate the old story from the new story. You're going to see and identify each side, and you may not know where the hell you're going in the new story, and you may not know what the hell the old story was about after all. So you don't have to understand, but one is over and one's about to start. And once you know that, I think you're going to feel very free going into the holidays. Now, that said, the full moon is at 23 degrees. What's important about that is that full moon is going to be in Gemini, so you want to be very fluid and just say, I know nothing going into this weekend and going into this week. I know nothing. Just show me, God, universe. Show me what the new story is. Just be an open book like you're going to a movie. If you can just go to your life like a movie and watch it for the signs this week, it's going to be so rich. All the signs will be so clear, because this is the part of life where all the details of life, like a movie, all come at the same time to symbolize these parts of your belief structure. So the conscious plays out your life kind of like a movie, which I think that magic is what Christmas has been. I think growing up, we felt the spirit of Christmas. We felt the spirit of the high degrees of Sag and the sun crossing the galactic center. That's what we felt, in my opinion. So Christmas, in a way, we'd still feel good that time of year and not know why. But nonetheless, these late degrees of Sag are the dreaming degrees. And so as we move after this full moon and going, well, it's not this full moon, I'll tell you that. I guess I'm not going to retire as the #1 plumber of Arkansas now. I'm going to have to move out to Tennessee or something. There's a point where you just realize that's not going to work. That's not where I can head. That can't be the strategy. That can't be the plan. And maybe that's it. You just don't know the plan. You're like, well, maybe it's not supposed to be this. If the plan's not coming, it may not meant to be this. And that's something I'll tell you as a Taurus. When you know and you believe in these high degrees of Sag, the plan comes. That's Gemini. The plan is Gemini. The earth is Gemini. The sun's in Sag. So when the heart goes, I want this story, the earth is like, okay, boop, almost like a map quest just delivers the directions in Gemini, you may not be aware of the directions. They're usually under your nose. So you look back and go, I don't know how I was going to do it. And then, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that. You realize it's right under your nose what you end up doing. But nonetheless, it's guaranteed the plans on how to get there are going to come. Our job this week is to actually allow ourselves to believe. I feel like that's the real mark. And this week's pep talks, by the way, on Serious Joy, every day, Monday through Friday, I give a pep talk about 30 minutes. This week, I'm getting really nano about how we accept that dream. You accept that dream. You don't let your mind get in the way, how you keep your ego from getting in the way, how you bring it, let it breathe it, because you have to be what comes, which means that if you want this dream to come, you have to be it now. It's not enough just to sit there and one day it. The planets are saying it's now. And when Saturn and Neptune move into Aries, it's on. That's next year in 2025. And once it's on, we're in it. Like that, you're in the game. I hope you were prepared. You know what I mean? Wearing clean underwear? Hope so, because you're in the game now. And that happens literally early next year. So enjoy if you're really kind of not enjoying this Mars retrograde. Oh, enjoy it. Things are about to pick up so fast next year. I think it's going to be difficult for us to really understand what's happening. We just have to play it as we see it in the moment. So choose this week with your heart. Surrender this week with your heart. Let me dive into the planets and get a little deeper on what each of the planets is giving you that clue to, and we'll move through it pretty fast because I want to spend time for your horoscope today. Starting with the sun this week. The sun in Sag is going to go from 23 to 29. So we basically wrap up our story in Sagittarius this week. By the end of the week, you'll be tested. And the end of the week being next Friday, you'll be tested on, final test as into whether you really believe. So it's almost like you believe it or not. And the universe is going to call for you to answer that question. Mercury this week goes from 6 to 7. That's because it will station direct on Sunday, hours after the apex of the full moon. So that's the other thing is like the full moon apexes at 23, a Mercury number, and then boom, Mercury goes direct about 10 hours later. So it's just like clockwork. We had to figure out that what the vision wasn't, and once we knew what the vision wasn't, we knew how we could think forward. Mercury at 6 is, hey, so what is my belief about the relationship I deserve in myself? What do I believe I deserve in my relationship? What do I believe I deserve in my vows? And that's what Mercury direct is really asking you on step 6. Over in Gemini, Jupiter this week moves from 15 to 14. Now, the significance of that is once it hits 14, that's into a net 5. That means, boom, it's written to the hard drive. So it's something where you go, okay, that's how to think. And yes, you can undo that kind of determination. Like, this is how I'm going to think. Yes, you can undo it. In fact, when Jupiter goes back to 14 direct, you might rewrite and go, nope, that wasn't it. This is it. But the point is you come to like a conclusion in your mind of like, this is how I'm going to think about things for now. And I think it's okay if you look at it for now. Now in Aquarius, a lot of pressure going on under the seams. Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. And then we have Venus from 8 to 13 this week. Venus is what we open up to. Actually, 13 to 21? I guess I have that wrong in my notes. We'll figure it out. But Venus actually is opening up and preparing us in the late degrees of Aquarius. That's correct, actually. Now I'm thinking in my head about being off. Because right now, we're holding space for this higher daily frequency inside ourselves. And then next week, we're holding space for this frequency and we're holding space for a high vibration life. So in essence, you're trying to say, sit back and just relax and breathe, that you deserve a much calmer, happier, cooler life. You deserve it. And just to own that. And that's what Pluto and Venus there is doing, is creating a vortex there. Now, looking at the emotional matrix of the week, the moon, is in Gemini, and we are on countdown for the full moon in Gemini, and that's going to be Saturday night into early Sunday morning. We'll apex at 23 Gemini. Now, that kind of a full moon is sort of one that's based on mind games or running too far down, down a certain direction, or getting it wrong. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong with information with 23-degree Gemini full moon. The trick is, though, to respond emotionally to yourself as if everything's fine, and to keep yourself in an emotional neutrality. Where a full moon in Gemini can go off the hook is where you are very emotional about something and the idea crosses you, and then you're on this storm. And so the full moon could be arguments, huge, fiery exchanges, people honking at green lights, hating each other. That kind of stuff happens, unfortunately, when you mix emotion and a full moon in Gemini. Now, then the moon goes into Cancer, so we basically then spend Saturday, Sunday, and most of Monday emotionally nurturing ourselves, just kind of bringing ourselves back to emotional center. Because it's a moon in Gemini, a full moon in Gemini, chances are you didn't process the feelings. You just thought about it the whole time, all angry. And then the moon in Cancer is like, holy moly, full moon hangover. Well, it's because the mind, Mercury, Gemini, can kind of stifle emotion. And so a full moon in Gemini sometimes means a later full moon experience because you kind of thought yourself through it and argued your way through it, but then the real feelings hit you with Cancer. Then the moon goes into Leo Monday night. So thank goddess. Now, at first, this could be sorrow, but I don't feel like that's going to be. I feel like the moon crossing Mars retrograde is going to be this chipper up, we got this, kind of your own Jiminy Cricket kind of feeling. And you're going to, I think, feel inspired to get back up no matter where you were and keep moving. I think your heart's going to come on fire on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Friday, the moon goes into Virgo. And so we're like, okay, that was a fun little trip. And that's down I Wish Lane, but I got to do these dishes. So the moon in Gemini, the moon in Virgo, I think, leaves the last day of this transit as very detailed oriented. It'll be 29 degrees, so Friday's going to be a little bit of a hurricane in itself. Not bad, just you're going to want to sleep after that day's over. So in the Leo energy, we do have Mars going from basically 4 to 3 over the course of this week. And what that means is that we're going to have, at some point, if you haven't had it already, a temper tantrum with your inner child. So when Mars hits 4, if it has already, you're just like pissed that you're not getting it your way, basically. That's the best way to feel that degree. But then Mars goes and ends in 3, which is like, well, what should I believe? What do I deserve? And so you go down that sort of philosophical, exploration, but not in the pain of being so heartfelt hurt with yourself. Remember, this is where you let you down. And even if you're going, hey, this relationship is horrible, you let you down, staying in it, you let you down, not speaking up, it still comes to a you let you down, no matter what the original pain started as. In Pisces, we are healing, though. Saturn in Pisces is at 13 degrees. That is an innovative degree. That's a net 4. It means that we're ready to take our karma to the next level. The way I looked at this in my Serious Joy podcast was that it's almost like Saturn is going to hoist up the ball and Neptune's going to knock it out of the park. Because Neptune's at step 27, which is a spiritual mission. So all spiritual missions are on. And Saturn 13 says, but are you pitching high enough? That's one of the big questions. Meanwhile, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius and innovation, is still in Taurus at 24 this week and retrograde. That means we're still thinking, well, where do I feel I belong? How big is this company? How big is this family? How big is this legacy? How much is the cost? We're sort of looking at the materials and labor and energy necessary for a current direction. And we have the ability to sort of innovate, say, oh, we can cut down this and we'll be able to do that. So all growth plans are officially on hold with Uranus retrograde in Taurus. But we're not holding. We're processing, we're evaluating, we're finding better deals. And so it's okay that your plans are not moving forward, but in planning are moving forward. And then, of course, the North Node in Aries, big shift this week, actually goes from 3 to 2 this week. And in that shift, we go from believing into getting very, very moody. So once the North Node goes to 2 degrees Aries, we are very much in touch with our inner toddler. We're in touch with the part of ourself that's pissed off it didn't get its way. We're in touch with the side of ourself that doesn't listen. Like, this is the part of yourself that pisses you off, the North Node. The South Node, though, is the part that has been pissing you off. It's that you're stuck in a good old bad mirage with yourself, and you're caught in that mirage and you can't get out of the loops. So that's the South Node. But you need to move towards the feeling you want and not be caught in the feeling you seem to be stuck with. Chiron at 19 degrees, healing our capacity to do big things. But Black Moon Lilith goes from 19 to 18, or 18 to 17, excuse me, which means that overall, we are going to start, 18 to 19. I'm getting my directs and my retrogrades confused with the South Node. 18 to 19, which means that Black Moon Lilith is going to face, bring up any fears of like having let people down or we let other people down. So we're clearing out all those times we messed up. And so we're sort of kind of messing up just so we show whoever or whatever that we're not going to mess up. Or it could be the vice versa, that people mess up on you. You tolerate, you never speak up. So that's kind of painful with relationships. But once it goes to 19, it means that, okay, we know that we have a chance here to heal all this. Can we finish it? So the fears around, can we finish it? Will this ever be over kind of thing? That indicates to me in the big picture of things that things are looking good for most people. And I feel like when we boil this down to ourselves and where we're going, you're going to really put into this a sense. So it's not just some big dream in the future. It's what's about to happen. So with that said, I'd say it's time to go steep yourself some tea. Let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, friends. This is our tea time segment. It's also our soul horoscope. It's where I dive into all 12 signs and what's going on specifically from the planets and the dissertation I just took you down to how it plays out in your life, which is what matters the most. And let me tell you, if you want to change the world, change your life. You will change the world. By changing your life, everything changes around you. Everyone's inspired or they go away, which is kind of a good thing sometimes. And we're left with, ultimately by changing ourselves, we're left with a world that's exciting because it's changing with us or it's leaving if it's not. That's what's fun. And that's what's guaranteed about life is the idea of change. So I want to set off this week to say, hey, the first thing we have to realize is you have to be open to the change. You have to be willing to protect yourself. You have to be willing to nurture yourself and go along with the bumps. And if you can just say to yourself, hey, I'm going to be the padding. I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. And I'm going to look out for myself and jump in and see what happens. I bet you've never changed really having yourself right there supporting yourself. That's the new age in some regard, that we re-architect our energy to be there for ourselves and for what we're trying to create. And that we're able to connect and also do amazing things like co-creation and synergy energy and stuff like that too. So this week, I'm going to be helping all 12 signs with these factors I think that are important to keep in mind as we go through the week. The first is the sun in Sagittarius. And this is, hey, what do you seek? What does your heart want? What are your personal dreams? What is your wish? What is your serious joy? What is your diamond egg? What is it that your heart would just at this point die for? And remember, being, obviously I'm using slang there, but remember, you'll get the next thing too. So just choose what your heart wants. You can have all of it, but we need to choose the one your heart wants the most first. Then we have the full moon in Gemini. And so this is almost the response to you saying what you seek. This is, okay, well then you have to let go of your attachment to this or your attachment to that. So you have to let go of how you've been overly, emotionally attached to an idea or attached in general or both, okay? And that's why you haven't been able to go down what your heart really wants because you won't let go of this. Hey, I can't get you to see what's on the other side of the pool if you don't let go of this side of the pool. And that's kind of what this full moon represents in an intellectual and belief structure way. Then we have Mercury stationing direct. And Mercury direct means that, okay, now we know what to think. And what we need to think is what I need from me. So for all 12 signs, I talk about what your mind needs from you. What your mind needs from you to move forward with this new Mercury. And then Mars retro at Leo 4 and then Leo 3. I talk about that inner temper tantrum with the inner child. I'm going to talk about at the end of the day where you have to have a breakthrough with self-love. So you're going to have a breakthrough at some point if you haven't already. And as always, I'll put up to the side here which sign I am talking about. And I'm just going to line everything up with my drinks and everything so we get good takes. This is the part where you're just a studio audience. You're not actually a viewer. And we'll start with the Aries. Aries, you are seeking, what our title track is, a greater life purpose. I think this is big for Aries because your life purpose has always been a little bit pushy or simple or coming down the force. And what you're learning now as you are evolving out of the age of war, which we've all been, frankly, is you're realizing I'm tired, I don't want to fight no more, but I'm still a person that wants to do great things, right? And so you're finding a purpose that is a higher expression of Mars and a higher expression of what male energy is. You're sort of setting a new standard for male energy, whatever you identify with. And so this belief, this dream, is if Arises didn't have to be soldiers, what does your heart want? What do you dream? What will you love? Okay. And I would imagine a lot of you, it's going to be actors and stuff like that because you do love attention. You do. You love it. So to Leos, I'm a Leo rising. I know one takes one to know one. Okay. So the full moon in Gemini says, well, then you're going to have to let go of, this right way or wrong way. You have to let go of, it's okay if you're wrong. It has to be okay if you're wrong. Your mind can't be worried that you're wrong if you're going to do this. You basically have to let go of an old attitude you have, like the world's out to get you, or let go of an old plan you've always had. Well, it's going to go this way. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's why it hasn't. Because you're so stuck on the plan, you're stealing the ball from, what your heart really wants. Your mind is playing this game with you and arguing all the time. So Mercury direct says, well, what does your mind need from you? It needs that you have to believe in yourself by default, which believing is different. I think Aries has dropped the ball. Chiron going through your sign made you see where you can be, make mistakes, where you can make an ass out of yourself. And so I don't know if Aries just by default believe in themselves like they used to 20 years ago when I first met them. You've just been through so much. So you got to bring your mind back to I'm going to believe in myself until I hit a wall, then I'm not going to question. which is pure spirited Aries energy. There's no question there. The main actor or character can't question right when they're about to do something powerful. And so the Mars retrograde for you is, that means the way you love yourself has to be on a higher level. You have to love yourself on a higher level. I don't care how much you think you do love yourself. This is inner love, not outer love. If you need the world to show yourself how much you love yourself, you're not loving yourself because you're making yourself work first before it gets the reward. So in a sense, you are finding a higher purpose, Aries. All right. Taurus, you are in your heart seeking a life transformation. You are ready to become a butterfly. You are ready to just like pull a rabbit out of a hat. But it sounds kind of uncomfortable, so you don't know. That's kind of it. But ultimately, you can change your life like you can't imagine. And I know a lot of Tauruses who come to me and say, I'm not pleased with where things are going. And it's like, well, then maybe you're not going in the right place. Maybe it's not quite what you thought. Remember, for Tauruses, that the full moon in Geminis, you got to let go of some product or the way you thought it was going to be sold or the way you thought it was going to go down. Because now that we're at the actual market time, it's not going to market the way you thought it was. Not. Okay? And Jupiter retrograde there is saying you got to value yourself on the essence of you and quit thinking that you have the answer in your mind, because nobody has the answer in their mind right now. This is new territory. So the sun versus the full moon is let go of that old idea of what you're going to make and focus on how you want to change yourself. And just focus on that and let go of how it affects your product line or bottom budget. You have Jupiter in this space, you're going to make a fortune, but you got to follow guides of the universe. Now, Mercury retrograde going direct is you really have to draw and enforce all your boundaries with yourself. You cannot not. You have to draw them and enforce them. There is no room for error. You have to be very strict with yourself about where the line is with yourself and sticking to it. That's the only way you're going to make the transformation. If you take your finger off that button, you're not going to get there. And Mars retro in Leo says you have to nurture your feelings. You got to baby yourself through it, cuddle yourself through it. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're changing. You hate this. So loving yourself means that you just give yourself the extra blanket. You give yourself the extra bath, the extra Epsom salt, whatever it is. You just do it for yourself and make yourself feel like Kobe beef. Gemini, you are seeking greater partnership. And I know a lot of you are in partnership because you're basically the twin sign and you twin with everybody all the time. But I think you're ready for a higher connection. And that may mean that you and your honey evolve there together, or that may mean that you realize you're not on the same page anymore. It can unfold lots of ways. But your dream is that partnership. And maybe that partnership is two people building something in a garage. And maybe that partnership is a son and a mother that do something great together. I mean, whatever it is, it has to be greater, and you're ready for it because it inspires you. The problem is that the full moon in Gemini says you've got this idea of who you are, and that's not who you are. Who you are right now is like who you pretended to be in order to get through that moment. We as humans are only now getting authentic and really true to who we are. We were so confused and so hurt and so mixed up, we just couldn't any of us could see it. So, the planets say like your idea of who you are or your idea of who you're going to be is not correct. And for some reason, if you just follow what a great relationship is, you're going to find the part of you, you're going to see the side that you are best at maybe, and you're going to realize that that is who you are. Now, Mercury retrograde says you have to always be the partner you needed. You have to always be there for yourself. Your mind is your best friend, and then it talks to people. So make your mind your best friend, make you your best friend. And Mars retrograde says every thought to yourself has to be loving. So anytime you talk to yourself, and that goes along with your mirage, your mind has to be your best friend. Everything you say to yourself has got to coach you up. Think about it. Do you want a partner that's just like, that's all you can do? Oh, sure, you got lazy. Of course you did that. That's who you want to be married to? You create the voice. You're a Gemini. You write things. So write the better voice and encourage yourself. It's not cheating. It's actually how you do it. All right, moving on. I'm going to have my little green drink here. Couldn't put it in a nice glass, but I am drinking a lot of greens. Cancer, you're actually seeking a whole new life. Cancers really want their life to change. They want adventure. I think you're thinking that some guy or some woman's going to bring it to you. That's part of where you were wrong. It's never going to be through a person again, I don't think. Those times are over. I'm not saying you won't have happiness through a person. I'm just saying it's not your greatest times. The universe wants Cancer to get out there in the world and to make their mark. And, we like you in a lot of places. So your lifestyle and your change of a lifestyle has to be just outside the box of what you have lived. There's no question about that. And if your heart lights up and you love it, that's great. If it's something you've done before and you want it back, unlikely. We're all changing. So you'll have to reincarnate in another lifetime where you can try that again, but that opportunity is over, whatever that was. So the full moon in Gemini is, your idea or your vision of who you are in this life or who you are with God, or your vision of or idea of who you are in this lifetime, something about that idea is flawed. You are emotionally attached to some idea that God's going to save you in the last hour, or someone's going to come swooping in on a horse and sweep you off your feet, or I don't know, you got some sort of fantasy. You're telling yourself that everything's going to be okay because of this idea. And Jupiter says, no, you have no idea. None of us have any idea. That's the thing. Gemini's kind of down right now. So the point is that this full moon is you going, you got to let go of this who you think you are in the context of the universe and be open to what that might be and focus on a quality life right here, right now, something you can't deny, something you have to live or not live. I mean, everyone knows whether it was a good meal or not or whatever, right? So Mercury direct says, hey, you've got to love your body. You've got to love living in the moment. You've got to believe in who you are in the moment. For Cancers, it's all about get down to the moment, get focused on the moment. And your moment's Sag anyways, which is kind of blurry and dreamy. And so God's not even asking you to have a sharp moment. They just want you in it, okay? So getting your mind in the moment, getting in your body, being mindful with yourself, that's how you go forward with Mercury. And the Mars retrograde in Leo is ultimately that you are either building yourself up or you're tearing yourself down. And so if you are encouraging yourself, giving yourself credit, taking credit, accepting credit, enjoying your success for a moment, looking back and saying, look what I did, which is taking credit for your work, do that instead of criticizing yourself for not doing the work or not being there or not doing enough. Your ego has got to be encouraging, not discouraging. Otherwise, none of this is going to change. All right. For Cancers. Leos, you are seeking serious joy. And that's because I have a Leo rising, but it's also because serious joy is the third decan of the fifth house. This is the part where we light up, or this is what Leos live for. Leos are born dreaming about 6 or 7 of these. And what this is saying is it's time for a new one to hatch. Either one you've had back in, dusty and needing to blow off and bring out one of your golden eggs, or maybe some idea that didn't come until you're on top of all of your experience. But it's time for Leos to dream in a big, big way. All right. Now, what's in the middle of the dream? What's in the way of the dream? Who you think you are in society. So you have this idea of who you are in society, this idea of who you're supposed to be in society, this idea of what you're supposed to say in society. But all that stuff you're supposed to be in society, that's all based on what we just lived. That knowledge is not based on where you're going. In fact, what the astrology is showing is it's probably blocking you from going to where you really belong in public because you're so insistent you're this or you're that. So you got to get to the dream. You got to focus on the dream, the feeling of the dream in your heart, the magic, the music you play, and just be okay with if I end up performing in bus stations, that's where I end up. You just have to be open. Now, Jupiter's in that space, which means the universe wants to bring your rightful place in the world right now, but your mind might be in the way. Now, Mercury directed Sag says, hey, I just got to love myself. I just got to always love myself in my mind. I have to always be the one to acknowledge the queen or the king or however you want to address yourself and your royalty of your self-love. You don't need anyone else to tell you. You don't need anyone else to affirm. You don't need a mirror to know this. All you need to know in your mind is I love me. I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And own that. That's what being a Leo is about, is a lifetime of really knowing that and really a lifetime of feeling how God feels about him or herself. That's how God feels. Like amazing. Like, look at this shit, man. Look what I pulled off. I think that's the heart of God. So Mars retrograde is in Leo, which means that to get there, you have to be a real friend. You have to be ultimately a real friend to yourself every time you respond to yourself. Always encourage yourself. Always respect yourself in your responses. Always build yourself up in your responses. Be the entire royal court treating you like a king or queen. That's how your responses have to be. You have to treat yourself like royalty with yourself and yourself. How much money you spend does not count here. Does not count. Leo. All right. Moving on, Virgo. Virgo, you are seeking a new story about emotional security. And it's true. I mean, Virgos are kind of uptight. 11 nets to a 2. You're very, your emotions are always going off. I'm always worried about emotionally setting you off through some idea. So you're usually, fired up by an idea, but then you get real emotional. The point is like your emotional security does need an upgrade. Like Virgos are not emotionally secure as they should be. compared to what they're capable of. It's like, why are you insecure? Do you know what you're capable of? It just doesn't make sense. It's outdated. So you need a new story. Maybe the story was you had money in the bank, or the story was you'd married Prince Charming, or the story was you were part of a rich family, or whatever your idea or story of security was, it wasn't working, and it's being thrown out for a new one right now. What's in the way with the full moon in Gemini is that you have this idea of where you're going to end up in your career, just exactly where it's going to be and what your legacy is going to be. And I don't know how we can claim to calculate that when we're in the age of Aquarius and we have literally zero data on how it could go. We're totally clueless. We're all pilgrims standing in the dark here, stabbing in the dark. So your view of how it's going is not going to be correct. 100% not. It's not. And if you didn't listen to the last, 9 horoscopes or 4, you'll know that I said that to everyone. We're wrong. We're all wrong about something. That's what the full moon is. We thought we saw it, but now we don't see it. So when Mercury stations direct, you've got to believe in what your feelings are telling you. If your feelings are telling you no, the answer is no. It doesn't matter that you're drama queen. It doesn't matter that you're that way growing up. It doesn't matter you're always called that. You're being that way right there. You know what I mean? So you just got to own it. Like, my feelings are telling me I'm upset. So who cares if I'm a drama queen? I'm upset. So you have to just take your feelings for as they present. And you have to, at the end of the day, with Mars retrograde in Leo, you have to ultimately have faith in yourself, and every response in yourself has to build faith, not take it away. And the response meaning, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? See, that's a response. You're taking your ego energy and you're creating this bad plot where it goes wrong and another bad plot where it goes on. That's destructive creation with your ego energy. You could say, here's why it could go right, and here's why it could go right, here's why it could go right. And you could opposite and build faith in yourself inside of yourself. So basically, it's suggesting that Mars is saying that Virgos have been, scaring the crap out of themselves by, processing worst case scenarios, and that's not going to bring you what you want. It's not how it works. You can't scare the baby and expect some sort of Mona Lisa to come out next. Libras, you are now seeking a bigger story for everything in life. So you're ready to have a new story to tell. You don't want to tell any of the story you tell right now. You're over it. You've done it. You've been there. You've done that. There was a time when you thought it was like super, super forever, and now you're like, oh, I see the end of this. So you're looking for a whole new program in your head, a whole new vision, a whole new goal, a whole new strategy, a whole new world. And you can have it. But the full moon in Gemini says what you think your purpose is not correct. So whatever you think your purpose is, you're not correct about it. There's something different. It's because you couldn't foresee what it would be. There's no way anyone could foresee what it would be at this stage. So it's okay that we're all stupid here. But we can't let our mind just choose something out of our imagination, because our mind's not choosing out of our imagination. Our mind's choosing out of the stuff we've learned so far. That's why I say AI is not that exciting to me. You mean you wrote intelligence around everything we thought in the past? Okay, that builds us to the beginning, and I see why you would go there. But isn't that all of our flaws, all of our stupidity, everything? Right? So it's so I don't know. I don't know if I want to start with an imperfect thought, right? But the point is that you've done enough processing now. You need to just, at the end of the day, accept in your mind that you can believe in yourself, okay? And that your self-talk inside yourself is actually the right self-talk that will work for you. And get this, that's what Mercury direct is. You have to be on your side in the way you talk to yourself, or you'll never find the right attitude. And you've got to realize that you don't know where this is going, and your mind's going to learn it as you go, and that's okay. You can wing it sometimes. Now, Mars retrograde is in your friendship to self. So what that means is, every time you're with yourself, you have to be the partner you wish you had. And I think that's what it is for Libra. Be the partner you wish you had every time you respond to yourself on the inside. And notice how loving you are. I would argue that by default, you're not, and that's part of what you're going to be learning, is to be more loving to yourself. All right. Scorpio, you are seeking abundance, man. Scorpios are so tired for having to work hard. They just want to know they're going to make enough money and they're going to get what they want. And they can buy presents for people. And so really you're seeking abundance, but not even in the cash flow. You're just seeking in a please in life kind of way. And it's good. That's a good story, because you've sacrificed enough. You've, taken one for the team. You've amputated this or amputated that. You've had the hardship when it comes to, paying for every dollar you've earned. For you to have this new philosophy and new belief about abundance, you're going to have to let go of of an old view you have to transforming. I think you already know. For you to get what you want money-wise, you're going to have to change to a point of you would not be comfortable at first. So you're actually resisting the comfort of the change. I think you're going to have to change your life. You know you have to do a deep freeze plunge. We're going to be in 0-degree water for a second, and you're going to be exposed for this, and you just know it. And it's just like, to you, the cost of the change is greater than the abundance. And this woman's going to be like, no, actually the abundance is better. You should just jump in the pool. Now, Mercury direct says, you got to believe in what you're worth. The only way this is going to work is if you know you deserve it. You give yourself credit. And by the way, you can't use anyone else to give yourself credit. I mean, you can say, look what I did for her and look what I did for him. Good, take that credit. You did that. But you can't wait for them to tell you. This check has to be written by you, what you're worth to yourself. And that's the other big piece of it, or it won't happen if you don't. Now, the other thing is Mars retrograde in Leo means that Scorpios their ego can basically talk them out of the right decision. Your ego can beat you up. Your ego can talk you out of the right decision. Your heart may want something, and so you make this big, lofty decision, and you commit yourself. Then you're super tired and worn down. You don't want to do it now that you committed to it. So your ego is not always your friend when it comes to staying on track with what you want. If your heart says, hey, I want this, your ego's like, do we have to? And I think that's what you're going to be changing. It's like, yes, of course you have to. This is what the king or queen wants. Yes, you must now. And you'll find, like I said earlier in this program, if you love it, you're going to have tons of energy. So it's that you've been chasing after stuff you don't love. But Scorpios are on the way to abundance, but they got to believe in what they're worth, and they have got to stop talking themselves out of believing in themselves, basically, and really just make the decision with the heart. Stop worrying about knowing. All right. Let me take a little drink here. Here comes our birthday friends. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you are seeking to be yourself, basically. You just want to come out of the closet, be the unicorn that you are. You're tired of trying to be everything for everyone all the time. You really don't want to wear a mask. You want to show us like who you really are and us to love you the way you are. Now, there's a lot of, pointing fingers back with that statement, but I do think it's true. And I do think it's because, you are being called to stage. You are the storytellers. We need you out there telling stories at parties and convincing people that ascension is worth it. You've got a lot of, butterfly, Tinkerbell, unicorn energy to put out there. So, that bug to be yourself is that calling to your calling. What you have to get out of is the way you look at relationships. According to the full moon in Gemini, your view of marriage, your view of partnership, your view of who you have to be and how you have to think is wrong. It's not who you need to be in the new era. And for you to be who you want to be, you can't be that person in relationships anymore. So there's some sort of idea or fixed vision about you as a wife or a husband that's wrong. And it's holding you back from being who you are. Now, Mercury direct says you've got to believe that you deserve better treatment. It's funny, too, because every Sag I know will be like, oh, I'll just throw myself under the bus. It's like literally a joke about how you'll kill yourself for it. It's like, none of that's funny anymore. Like, you have to believe that you deserve it. Of course, I just did 9 hours. I deserve it, honey. I mean, learn from a Leo. Take a little credit. If you've done the work, you definitely deserve better treatment. And in most cases, I think for Gemini, the Gemini energy of Mercury and Sag, I think your mind, your inner voice is what beats you down or doesn't believe in how to treat you or something like that, or refuses the gift. That's another Sagittarius thing. I'd be like, oh, give me a hug, or like, you don't have to. Like, they won't take the gift back. And so you end up deprived. Now, Mars retrograde says you have to believe in yourself, period, by default. It's funny. It's Sagittarius. You want to be known as an intellectual, so you're willing to look at all sides of things, right? But if the thing you're looking at is like, I believe in me, part of you makes you look at all sides of it too. Like, well, what if I didn't believe in me? It's like, why are you using your intellect for that? Like, you don't have to know all sides. That's a Gemini game. That's a collegiate game. That's a society control man's mind game. You don't have to look at all sides. Someone who is really brilliant can just look at the stuff they love, and they can be brilliant at that, and that's it. And we'll still follow you and read your books. So again, you've got this idea of who you're supposed to be in relationships. Maybe that's the relationship to the public. Maybe it's a relationship to your mom. It could be a lot of different relationships, but for you to be this bright butterfly that you are and bring sparkles to the world and inspire us to go to the movies, you're going to have to decide that you're open to how it goes in relationships and that you're going to be there for yourself in your mind and in your beliefs, period. Capricorns, you are seeking a better connection to God. And I haven't gotten close enough to a Capricorn in a while to really know this is true or not. I'm just reading the stars for what they are. But it really looks like your belief about who you are with God is different. Maybe it's that you were just focused on Earth and now you're considering for the first time. Maybe it's that you thought you were a builder and now you realize you're a teacher, something that has more spiritual effect. Something's changed, and something is changing in your relationship to who are you in the context of God? What are you here to do, right? Now, what's in the way of that is your daily life. So something about your daily life, your work, everything, what you plan yourself into, all that, that's what's in the way. And your idea of what life's supposed to be is in the way. You're going to have to make room for God in your life, basically, and make room for spirit. And it's right there. It's under the seams all the time. So Mercury direct says you have to believe and have faith in who you are. You can no longer question if you're afraid or if you have faith. Choose. Which one is it? Faith or fear? And if you choose faith, then enforce it. Don't let any thoughts think otherwise. It doesn't do any good to pick apart what you're creating. I mean, if a sore is healing, don't pick it. Don't pick at it. If you have this healing part of you that needs to heal from doubting yourself, stop picking at it. Stop poking at it. So in a way, I think you undermined your own faith all the time, and your mind just to be there and positive. And then Mars retrograde in Leo is you've got to really create boundaries with yourself that are loving. And loving boundaries are what you need, not necessarily what you want. So yes, I need to go to bed at 10. That's the loving boundary. I want to go to bed at 1, right? So there's a difference. So Mars retrograde is saying you're not really making boundaries with yourself based on what you need, and you're not enforcing them if you are. You're like, oh, I went to bed without brushing my teeth. There's stuff where you've crossed your own boundaries and it's okay. And that's why you're not getting traction according to the planets. And that has to change. That's also going to go into relationships when Mars goes back into Cancer, but that's enough for you for now. That's enough. Move on. Aquarius. Aquarius says you are seeking your place in the world. You honestly don't know where you fit in. You don't. How could you? We haven't had an age of Aquarius in a long time. If you were in the last one, it's hard to remember. Even I can't remember it. But also because the world's making choices and we never thought we'd be here, how could you ever be in the best spot to inspire us and raise us in the age of Aquarius if you haven't done it either? So you're figuring out where do you belong. Now, I think you're writing your story. I feel like whatever you choose is okay. God's like, great. So someone needs someone to do that. Great. Someone to do that. Great. Like I think as far as God's concerned, she knows everyone's covered. So you just choose what your heart wants. The world's covered. Now, what's holding you back is your old view of serious joy. According to astrology, you've got this idea of what utopia is, and this idea of utopia is just that, an idea, unrealized, unexperienced, unexplored. So you've got to let go of the personal dream part and be like, show me universe instead of I know it's going to be this. Because according to astrology, you're actually limiting. God wants to give you so much more, but like his vision of what's going to be is so limited. So I just have to stay out. And that's what happens. So remember, no one's mind has got it right. Now, Mercury direct says you've got to be your own best friend in the world always. Don't expect the world to know how weird you are, your special needs, your taste, any of that. That's not fair. You can't have that expectation. You have to come up with your own rep, which is you, that looks out for you in the world. We don't know how to deal with you. We don't know. Okay? You've got to come with an ambassador that helps us. And that's being a friend to you. That's not being a friend to me. That's you not putting yourself out there on that old, I am just a rare person in the world that no one understands me. That's because you abandoned you before you went outside. And you went outside without the rest of you to support you. Now, Mars retrograde is a similar stinging message. It is that the way you respond to yourself is not as loving as you think. Okay? Love is felt, first of all. It's not an idea. So unless you go, you didn't really love yourself. If there's not that little gloat afterwards where your heart lights up and your inner child wants to bounce away like a bunny, if you don't have anything like that where you light off and you look silly and stupid, which is how you, I think, term it, then you haven't really loved yourself. Okay? So I want to see Aquarius is walking around looking stupid is what I want to see. Because once you allow yourself to look stupid, then you probably are really enjoying yourself because you have no idea how you look right now. Bah! Just kidding. I think it'll be fun. But also, again, be your own best friend out in public. And then Pisces. Pisces, you are seeking legacy and success. You are seeking a new place in your career, your legacy. You come to do more than just get drunk and be depressed, right? Like there's much more past the karma that you've had to process. And God bless you. I know you're going through the karma. I know so many of you, it's like, sheesh. I think you waited to the very last life to clean out all your karma. So there was a lot of spiritual junk in that trunk. I know it. And by the way, you've only cleared out the stuff with yourself. You're now going to clear out stuff with others. But the hardest part was the stuff with yourself. And with Neptune in your sign, it is just supporting you and opening up every door and giving you every sign. even a blind Pisces will be led to the light right now. Okay. Like God doesn't want any Pisces left behind. Now, for that to happen, for your success and legacy and be who you're meant to be, you have to let go of an old view of emotional security. Whatever you think is emotionally secure, money in the bank or so-and-so or this or my alcohol or whatever your idea of emotional security is, it's wrong. You're not emotionally secure, are you? Have you been? Then you don't know. And so you have to let yourself go after the dream and then realize what sort of emotional support will I need in that path. But don't start with the home and then find out where the kid ends up. Figure out where the kid ends up in life and think about the home he or she needs to get there. Now, Mercury direct says you've got to decide everything with your heart. Your heart has to decide everything. If it's not, then you're going to be disappointed. And I don't care how impractical it is. It doesn't mean you have to have it now. You could say, okay, my heart wants this. I know this is not possible, so I'll do it 6 months and I'll try. So you can make deals, but you can't say no. If your heart wants it, that's the answer, period. End of story. There's something else to talk about. And then Mars retrograde is you have to live in a state of love. Now, Pisces, that means you got to eat the right foods. You got to do a little exercise. Pisces are spirit. They don't really like to hang out on the body. But actually, your body is your temple. I mean, that statement is meant for you. Leo is your temple. And the more you polish your body, the more you give to your body, the more incredibly powerful you become. So putting some real concerted effort into your life, your lifestyle, your level of stress, your workload, really make it a life that you love. Be excited to wake up in the morning. And if you do that, you will absolutely be in the best, most perfect spot you're supposed to be for the age of enlightenment. But you must be the light, friend. And that means put down the processed food. My father was a Pisces, so we could be talking to him. Excuse me. All right, friends. Well, that wraps up our soul horoscopes and our tea time topic. We're going to take a little break right now. Let Sensei get a drink. And we come back. Dr. Lennox is here to talk about astrology, dream interpretation, and more. So keep streaming with these commercials and the Zodiac weather, and I'll be back in about 5 or 6 minutes. This Zodiac weather is from Saturday, December 14th to Friday, December 20th, 2024. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, this weekend is when you accept the new narrative and take it to heart. Let's drill down. On Saturn Day, it's cloudy and adjusting. Step 23 means Mercury rules the day. This is a day where you will believe you know, and you're opening up to what you have never imagined. By the by, there's a full moon overnight that's going to seal the deal. On Tuesday, after the intensity of the moon has passed, it's cloudy and peaceful. Step 24 indicates Venus rules the day. This is where you'll go back and forth in what you believe about your relationship to this new future and your relationship to this new vision for your future. You're also going to be balancing your manifest goals and probably in a bit of a full moon hangover, although the moon has now moved into Cancer. Looking ahead at the 5-day week forecast ahead, we take that new vision for our future, we commit to it, we tell the galactic center, and we hold space. On Monday, it's sunny and impassioned. Step 25 indicates Neptune direct rules the day. This is a day where you'll be feeling your higher calling and checking with God to make sure you're on the right path. By the end of the day, you will believe in your purpose and share your intentions with God and the universe. The moon shifts from Cancer to Leo, so by the end of the step, your heart is lighting up. On Tuesday, it's sunny and delighted. Step 26 means Saturn rules the day. You are large and in charge, and you are now believing in your devotion to this new future. You're also feeling new inspirations in yourself as the moon continues to transit through Leo. On Wednesday, it's sunny and gleeful. Step 27 means that Mars rules the day, and that's a Mars retrograde in Leo, with the moon also still in Leo. But the key here is the sun is conjoining the galactic center. Therefore, you are believing in your purpose and living larger than life. With the sun squaring Neptune, it also indicates a major change in your destiny and Earth narrative. On Thursday, it's cloudy and stirring. Step 28 means that the Earth is ruling the day. And the reason why you may be stirring is because you're waiting for this new vision to gel. You believe in your new era, you're thinking farther down the road, but you're waiting for things to change. And with Venus trining Jupiter, you're putting all the pieces together. And then on Friday, it's cloudy with a chance of storms. Step 29 means Chiron rules the day. You may be tested on anything you learned in the Sagittarius transit. The moon has also moved into Virgo, bringing light to every little crack in the details. This is a day where you must believe in miracles and become the new reality. And with Venus squaring Juno, it's sort of a square off between where boundaries must be and the vibe you want to live moment to moment.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
So this whole weekend of uniting the light would not have been possible without Crystals by Crystal. A lot of those VIP bags that are floating around are just stuffed with goodies. We appreciate your support of uniting the light. Thank you times a million.
I created Crystal by Crystal because I struggled to hear my inner guidance. Sitting still was never easy for me, but lighting a candle changed everything. Now I combine the energy of fire, crystals, and Reiki to create candles that are more than decor. They are sacred tools for self-care and empowerment. These candles have transformed both my life and my customers' lives. And to deepen your journey, I offer private Reiki sessions. Save with code JOY20 at crystalbycrystal.com. Your transformation starts here. Crystal by Crystal because I struggled to hear my...
All right, Crystal by Crystal. Welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. As you know, one of my favorite topics is astrology, and with Pluto in Aquarius and Saturn about to go into Aries, tonight's guest is a fellow astrologer and a dream interpreter who I think is going to bring a fascinating point to that conversation. He's a leader in that conversion, in fact. He's a spiritual teacher. His name is Dr. Michael Lennox. He's a psychologist, an astrologer, an expert in dreams and dream interpretation, and he describes himself as an ambassador to conscious embodiment. I really want to know what that means in depth. Dr. Lennox obtained his master's and doctorate in psychology, so he's got both sides there, Western and also spiritual. The Chicago School of his doctoral dissertation, Astrology and Personality, is published by Lambert Academic Publishing. Dr. Lennox is also the author of 4 books on dreams. His most recent is titled Psychic Dreamer. He hosts the Conscious Embodiment podcast, where he talks about the astrology of the week and helps listeners decipher their dreams. In addition, he conducts classes on shadow work, which is really important, self-investigation, spiritual practice, and of course, astrology in a worldwide practice based in Southern California. He's just a neighbor. Please send some waves of love and gratitude now to welcome my guest, Grandmaster, Step 29 Leo, Dr. Michael Lennox. Hello.
Hey there, Christopher. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I'm delighted.
Beautiful.
I've been following you on Facebook for years, dude.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Got you. Forgive me. I mean, you're the same way. You're online, so it's like doesn't everyone look familiar?
At this point, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen their mugshots, I've seen their thumbs, I've seen their kids, and so everyone walks up knowing me, like, hey. The first thing I'm like is, did we sleep together? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kidding, but like, do I know this person? How well do I know them? Because they seem to know me a whole lot. So, anyways, nice to meet you in person and see your vibration. Well, gosh, there's so much to talk about. One, I wasn't sure if you were a Leo or not until I ran the chart. And given how bright you are, you definitely are a Leo. You're blazing hot here with your energy, which I love. I have a Leo rising too, and I'm Moon in Leo, so I'm feeling that. How did you find yourself? Well, tell us the sequence. Did you go and get psychology information and then find astrology, or astrology and then psychology? How'd that unfold with the duality?
Everything spiritual came first. I started reading tarot cards as a teenager. I started interpreting dreams in high school. I read Freud's interpretation of dreams. It showed up on my mom's bookshelf. She was getting an MSW, and I was interested. So I would say to people, tell me your dream, and I would respond. I had things to say, which I later understood that I have a gift. I didn't really understand it then, but I knew that I responded to hearing dreams, right? So by the time I was in my 20s, I was like doing workshops on dream interpretation and being that guy, in my own sort of life, but I was working in the corporate world. And the going to grad school was really like the linchpin of, I need to change my life. I'm not serving fully. And so in my 30s, I went to grad school I knew I didn't want to be a psychotherapist, but I knew I wanted to know more about the human condition if I was going to teach about it. And that was really the turning point. And so the psychology definitely came second.
Interesting. And did you find psychology was correct or incorrect?
Well, let me say this. First of all, I love that question. I will say that there are things about the theories in psychology that speak to me very profoundly and very deeply as true. right? Just in the way that, like, irrespective of whether, you know, I mean, in terms of my body, this feels right and true. And so I appreciate that. I did get a lot of flack in grad school because I was who I was. And I was, you know, people, if they were being kind about it, they said, oh, you'd be such a good therapist. It's like, but I don't want to do that. I just want to know more about how the human, you know, psyche works. And in my world of shadow work, even though my shame work and shadow work preceded my grad school education, that informed how I can mostly sit with people one-on-one who are in my classes going through really deep stuff. And the fact that I'm a trained psychologist allows me to be confident working with people in really vulnerable processes. So that is probably the most valuable part for me personally of having that education.
Interesting. I mean, I discovered astrology before my freshman year in college.
Really?
And yeah, and it was a girlfriend introduced me to it, and she wanted to break up. She's like, she saw the chart. She's like, you're not a good family man. Your son's in the 10th. No, this isn't going to work. And I was like, what? But but at the same time, I took my first psychology classes in college because I was a film major and I wanted to understand human character and motive. And so I actually looked at both of them the same time. And I was like, what?
Love that, Christopher.
You know, really, Freud? 3 characters versus 12? Like, you know, just to me, I didn't understand how you could comprehend the whole human being. Now, I didn't continue to pursue it. I'm not educated in that consciousness, but it was enough for me to go, astrology's legit.
Yeah, you know, and you know, Jung, who followed Freud, who took the sort of a reductive, everything's about sex and there's one single drive that Freud sort of believed, and said, no, I think it's a little more spherical and archetypal and holistic in nature. He used astrology. One of his children was an astrologer, and the Myers-Briggs type index.
Wow.
Myers-Briggs is based on astrology. He got the idea of introversion and extroversion, which is his invention, by looking at the alternating signs as masculine, feminine, or introverted, extroverted, which they do. They sort of go in order, starting with the Aries and, you know, masculine, feminine. That informed him to create the personality type preferences that triggered the Myers-Briggs. I think that's fascinating because it's archetypal thinking that really truly reflects the human experience, and reductive experience doesn't. That's why psychology isn't enough.
Yeah,
We've got to add the holistic, or it's missing part of the picture.
Well, I think what you have to add is the structure of consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, which what astrology tells you, this is the structure of consciousness. So, you know, he saw it. I did not know. You know, now I fully admit I have to look at Myers-Briggs differently. I'm going to have to look at it more deeply with much more respect, because every time I'm taking that thing, I'm like, damn it, they're making me, you know, the whole time I'm on a dissertation about how it should be astrology, not this. So how foolish was I?
That's funny.
Well, you have said that you have your own personal process to teaching astrology and using astrology. What is it? Elaborate. I'm curious on your formula.
You know, having sort of listened in to you talking about the various horoscopes that you took in, we're not that different because you're talking about consciousness and process and self-investigation and self-reflection. And one of the things that I've been bumping up against for decades is people who want me to comment on using astrology on politics, current events. I've stopped meeting with SEO people, search engine optimization, to help my career, because every single SEO person I sat down with said, here's what you do. Just do everything that you do regularly, but inside of every article, write something like Will Smith's astrological chart.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was because that was up.
Right. Yeah, I feel that
like,
too.
if I wanted to be a famous astrologer, I could talk about all of the pop. You know, I had a friend who sent me Kamala Harris's chart when she was made the
president nominee
candidate. And I said very kindly, I said, look, I'm happy. He was sending it to me because none of the people in his world were astrologically minded. So he wanted to have some, you know, astro time with his friend. And I said, look, I'll receive your emails, but I won't look at her chart. So I'm not going to comment, but I'm happy to receive your interest. I've not heard from him again about that, but I don't care to do that. And so one of the things that I'm bumping up against right now is that I'm getting ready for my Astro Overview 25 that I do for my people every New Year's Day, where I'm going to talk about the year ahead. I'm sure you're doing yours.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Right? So I can't not talk about what's happening on the planet with the outrageous ingresses that are happening next year when when Uranus and Neptune join Aquarius, and we've got fire and air combusting the planet for the next 2 years. How could I possibly talk about what the year's going to be like, even if my focus is on your embodiment? Because we live in a world that is in flames at the moment, and the astrology is directly reflecting that. And so I have to speak about it for the first time, and I'm going to have to do a lot of praying to make sure that I don't bring my personal rage into that story or overwhelmingly, I don't mind someone knowing or assuming what my politics are based on what I do in the world, but I certainly don't want to bullhorn that.
I'm a bull. I hear you there. Um, I personally feel we're all wrong. I feel we're all wrong. I really do. I feel so. I don't have any emotional anything to it because I'm like, I feel like we've never been here as a species since Atlantis. I feel like this is all, and what we've been told is all a lot BS and history written. It's like we can't trust Gemini at all. I don't feel at this point. I honestly don't. Like I'm telling my don't even trust what's in your mind. It has no clue. There's no way it could ever know. It's like AI that was trained on bad data. So to me, it gives us sort of hopeful, like, let's see. But I'm naive that way. I've got Sag in the 5th, so I'm very walk off the edge of the cliff like the Fool card.
Yeah, gotcha.
I enjoy it. Yeah. Well, I think you'll be quite good at it. I mean, personally, from professional to professional, I think you're going to help them deal with. I think it's down to your normal practice. It's like your practice has always been on the inside. I don't like reading celebs either because I don't like reading them in person. First of all, I love you guys, but you're a handful, and so, because mostly it's the same thing as with people in the public. No one wants to hear what's really going on in Harris's chart. I'll tell you right now, you can't see it from her behavior. She's hiding it. She's covering it up. She's dealing with her own demons. Everyone's dealing with their own stuff inside. And I always go straight for that shadow, probably like you, which would be very boring in the public. They'd be like, show me where that's true. Well, with that said, so you have like a holistic version. And I'm just going to say, I think they'll want to know how to deal with that whole change of life. I mean, right? Like, let's go there for a minute with astrology. I mean, what do you feel as far as Saturn and Aries is going to be, the real significance that we're going to feel, and Neptune Aries we're going to feel? Like, what do you feel like it's going to manifest as?
I actually think the Saturn is the most interesting piece, right? Because you've got the outer planets setting a stage, and Pluto's already done that, right? So we already have a sense of the enormity of the transformations that are happening. Even just in the last couple of weeks, this final entrance of Pluto into Aquarius, there's just been these wild changes on the planet and all kinds of technological expansions and crazy stuff happening, in plenty of, other countries besides the United States. So it's clear that when we get Gemini in an air sign trining Pluto, now we've got slow change, fast change working together. Well, that just means change, which I love adding your sense of, let's be curious about this rather than walk in thinking we know what's going to happen. But no matter how you slice it, when you've got the two forces of change, fast and slow working together, things are going to change. Because beliefs and ideologies drive so much of what's challenging out here, and you got Neptune, the planet that holds our beliefs and ideologies, moving into fire, that is a combustion sort of concept ready to happen.
Yeah.
But it's Saturn that makes it a boots on the ground. We're going to have difficulty rocking the changes because Saturn's movement reflects things that happen on the ground, right? I like to say Saturn operates from your front door out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll take that. Yeah, that's its jurisdiction.
Yeah. When we were looking at 2020 and saw Pluto and Saturn coming together in Capricorn and knowing that there would be structural changes, to me, it was Jupiter that made it ubiquitously worldwide, even COVID. It's like the virus may have arisen because of Pluto and Saturn, but Jupiter sent it around the world and expanded
made it the collective awareness.
I really think that Saturn's movement is going to be reflecting the idea that all of us are going from 2.5 years of preparation of karmic lessons, of interior sort of shoring up, in a Piscean kind of way, so that we can sort of get lit up and fired up by Saturn in Aries, and let that also bring hope and activism and change that's positive, because I don't think that Neptune is a member of either political party.
No, I mean, and last time Neptune was here was the American Civil War. So that's where, we spent a good lot of time arguing about three-fifths compromise. Should we, this is a soul. Is this a real person? Do they deserve rights? It's going to ruin the economy. You don't have the right to secede. Yes, we do. It's just like all of that. And so, Neptune and Aries, and boom, state starts seceding. And energetically, we find ourselves on a divide. Now, I personally don't feel we'll find ourselves in that same place, but I can see where Neptune suddenly brings all that spiritual belief into action or non-action.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
For those of us who are on a path looking to sort of get our vibration higher by doing the shadow work and the wound healing, we can take that idea of Saturn and Aries allowing us to do the right thing with gumption and fire and start acting. And if you're sort of sitting back in your world, Saturn in Aries might help propel you out. And it's really important when I say something like that, is that you don't have to go become an activist. You could just, if you want to make, macrame napkin holders, and that gives you bliss, and then you're putting more bliss into the world, then go make macrame napkin holders. But be bringing your A game no matter what your ministry is. Yeah.
I also think it's like the reinvention of the ego. So, human design, I don't know if you follow that.
I like that. A little. Empathy. If I were a younger man, Christopher, I would learn human design because it's awesome. But
I'm the same boat. I've only dipped into it a little bit, but I've had guests on who tell me, so I'm up with the times. And apparently the root chakra gates are going to collapse next year, which means that the root chakra energy becomes simpler, and less complex and less divided and more united. Now, what's interesting about that is look at Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and I'm just like, interesting. Perhaps this is also the rebirth of what ego is. It's not for survival, maybe. Maybe this is a shift where now we take it to thriving. It's no longer about just surviving. That's not enough. The ego needs to make sure we thrive, which AI might be a part of that. It's the upgrade of the human ego out of the dark ages, frankly, maybe, excuse me, age of Pisces, I think revealed all the spiritual truths, but we haven't applied them yet.
Consciously.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're coming out in dreams. You know what I mean? We'll talk about that next, so until we are waking to it. But, that segues in a good way, actually. And I want to talk about Pluto and Aquarius in a little bit, but I don't want to stay in one subject for everyone, is dream interpretation. So, you've had Saturn and Pisces. Is business just off the hook with Saturn and Pisces? And Neptune and Pisces?
Well, I will say that yes, anytime. I also have that grand water trine in my chart that is the wisdom bringer, right? So when Saturn moved into Pisces, yes, there was a definite amplification of both my work and my experience of it. What I'd like to say about dream interpretation and astrology is that first, when I started to think about, because I'd be asked, where do they intersect for you? My first thought was, well, they intersect through me. I'm doing the astrology and I'm doing the dream interpretation. So there is no intersection of them in my experience because I am one human being. But it occurred to me over the years when I thought about it, when I came up with my little catchphrase, a banner item, your ambassador to conscious embodiment. That came out of me instantaneously when the marketing people said, come up with one. And it was like, bam. It wasn't like I had to think about it, because everything for me is about the body. Not just that's true, I think, for us here in space. You want to be a spiritual trekker, you have to understand that the present moment is all that there is, and the body is in it.
Right. In it.
It is the present moment personified or physical.
Spirit's not in the body. Body's in the spirit. Yeah.
Right. So when I put that together for myself, and I see myself very much as a guy who says, look, I know this place. I know how it works. I know how the psyche works. I know how the physicality and breath works. And I can help and teach you how to be in your body And I can interpret outer space,
Mm-hmm.
astrology, and I can interpret inner space, your dream world. And so when I look out at, say, a person and their chart, they're the center linchpin where their astrology is their upper and their dream life would be their inner, but it's the same continuum of the body in the center in the present moment and this powerful unconscious experience that is both outer space and inner space. And to me, in that regard, interpreting someone's chart and then interpreting their dream space is like a full over the hood, below the hood kind of evaluation. So
I
that's
like
to
that.
me how it intersects inside of me.
Although dreams do not always become reality, and we learn and we process things in our dreams that we don't process in our reality. So there is certainly a separation there as far as
Absolutely.
functionality.
Of course, you can't do with dreams what you do with astrology. I
Yeah,
guess my sense is, though, that they are similarly far away and sacred. Not, I don't mean far away literally, but like we have to
right.
reach for them. We have to train ourselves to reach our higher consciousness. We have to train and clear out our bodies to reach our, inner consciousness.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. But a dream, for instance, I mean, that do you feel like that's the 12th house? It's like it seems like it's in this space, this conscious room somewhere
Yeah.
where you can both, preview what may happen in the future, re-examine what you've done in the past. You have total timeless to your conscious soul's memory,
Yeah.
and you have the ability to invent something that doesn't fucking exist.
It is to me.
Believe that you're there.
It is a 12th house experience, and here's how I would
Okay.
describe that the multidimensionality of us and our own availability to go into our inner ethers and our upper ethers is is really limited by our thinking mind, the conscious mind,
Yes.
Mercury mind, that to me is just inserted. It's not natural. It's not organic. It's just the navigator that says, I can see where we are. I will perceive who you are, what you are, where to go. I'll tell you when to turn right, where to turn left, put on a sweater because it got cold. And when we go to sleep, that rational mind is also asleep. So we're free to sort of stretch out into our multidimensional perceptions. And that's why lots of mystical experiences happen in the dream state. So in astrology, when I think about the 12 houses, I kind of do sort of see the 12th house as a kind of a one-sided thing, and the penumbra of the other 11 are our waking consciousness here in bodies. And in Pisces, we still retain that connection to the preform, the formless. And that's one of the places I think we're going to in our dream state, where in our human psyche, there's formlessness that's getting ready to sort of pop into form. And so that's why.
Or not.
Or not, right, or not. And that's why I think it's powerful that when we work with dreams, we are interested in the dreams that are troubling to us, because we want to go into that state and look where we're saying no. Where's the fear? Where's the restriction? Where's the holding back? And our dreams are going to do that for us, because they take us to places where we express our fears and our resistances so we can wake up and do the thing again. So when you add in a little conscious awareness of, I've written my dream down, I see where that angry fight in the dream is reflecting some conflict in me about this thing or that thing. That's no different than knowing what your chart is and working with a lunar cycle with some conscious, prayerful, ritualized intention based on the archetypal setup of where the sun and the moon are playing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I have a crazy dream, I'm like, oh, that's Saturn in the fifth, and that's Pluto. I can sort of see the conscious working out. I also see that like dream world is almost like you can create a simulation and not have to manifest it in the physical. So a lot of people are like, I had this horrible dream. I'm like, that's great, because I think you just dealt with it. You didn't have to manifest it into the flesh. Like,
that's right. But you
had your
have
response.
to breathe into it. You have to touch the ugly, the shadow, the fearful.
Yeah.
If you don't, it gets encapsulated and becomes, dis-ease.
How did your doctoral dissertation on astrology and personality shape your view of astrology as a psychological tool
That is
Um,
such a fabulous question, and it's
good.
such a disappointing answer.
Oh no. Well, yay to the question. I mean,
Understand something, that when you're getting an advanced degree like that, the learning is in the previous stuff, and then comes this thing you have to do, this goal, this hoop you have to run through. So the real juicy thing about my doctoral dissertation was that I was welcomed to focus on astrology and psychology and the connection. And that, I don't know that it changed my view of astrology, but it made me excited to do a dissertation. And so my research was to show and prove, because the hypothesis was that a well-written personality description based on a chart would be as recognizable to a person as describing them as their Myers-Briggs synopsis and their 5-factor synopsis. It's a more modern psychological measure, 5 factors. So I had a small sample of 30 people, and I got all of their charts, and I wrote these paragraphs, and we would send everybody who was participating 15 bios. 5 Myers-Briggs, 5-factor, 5 astrology. They had to read each one and rank them, like me, not like me. And we found statistically significant that people recognize themselves in their astrology profile slightly better than Myers-Briggs and 5-factor. So
I
that
believe
was
that.
a wonderful validation. And I'll point this out. This is a little tidbit. A lot of scientists would like to decry astrology and say it's bunk. And yet the psychological literature in psychology for astrology is vast. There's been a lot of studies, and 50% of them negate astrology and 50% validate it. So it's not ambiguous. Well, maybe it is ambiguous, but it's not certain. It's not definitive. It is 50-50. It's a matter of coming up with a study that works. Astrology is astrology is dense as can be. How would you create a study to verify it? But they happen.
Yeah.
There was one that was like, let's look at athletes and their Mars placement. And there was something that was verified, that there was more likely that if someone was athletically gifted, that their Mars was something. I don't remember. It's too many years
I'm
back.
curious what that is. 6th house. What is it?
Yeah, I think it was like rising. It was like in the northern.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, a lot of ascendant stuff, and especially in the older astrology, there's a lot of ascendant stuff. Yeah. In regard to people's perception of themselves, yes, I think people recognize themselves almost instantly. And if anything, that's the real power of astrology, is that a good reading will be mostly what you already know.
Yes.
Right. But the other aspect of astrology that I think still psychology does not happen is the way consciousness begets consciousness. Just the idea that the ego is fighting for balance with relationships, or the 7th house, or that your home and family have to be balanced with your 10th and 4th house. Like these sort of principles in the wheel, I don't find anywhere in scientific, psychology. So it turns into a guide for balanced living and all sorts of other dimensions I find that you don't find in those other schools.
I haven't done a lot of psychotherapy, but I've done a little, mostly just to experience it and over the years. And I can tell you that there were several times where I was sitting with someone going, "Oh God, if I could just look at their chart."
Oh yeah. Well, and we're saving both client and me time. If the client doesn't go, "Oh my God," the whole time, then you're not on.
That's right. That's absolutely right. They're
Yeah.
not doing it right.
Yeah.
Do
And
you
then
find
come back.
this,
Go
that
ahead.
people are happy to have their craziness validated as not crazy?
That's our whole business. I mean,
Whole business.
yeah, it's our whole business. I mean, I think with our subscribers at Serious Joy, you have your blast too. You have a special today. We'll talk about that. When they get one of those blasts, I'm not sure what yours are like, but it's like, thank God.
Yeah.
It's the response.
Yes, like I thought I was losing my mind, or that I was
Yeah, it really takes them off their own back. And that to me is the biggest. But when I first read my chart, man, those old astrology books were dark. It was like, Mark, it was like this, where that. It was like, oh, you're gonna die. You'll lose your first wife. She'll probably have a stillborn birth.
Oh, Christopher,
fuck.
that's very
God.
funny.
It was so dark. And I was
Well,
just
they are, and I didn't really learn that way, thank God.
I didn't either. I pick it up and like, I can't even go here. I
no,
just gotta have spirit. I can't. It's too negative. But no wonder, I mean, maybe that's part of the reason why. And the other thing I was going to say is interesting too, is like when you have a, 50% disproved astrology, right? When I look into a chart like that, quite often they have a past life where they've been hurt by the church. They're already duped by a bad belief structure. They're not going to let anyone in this life tell them what to believe. And they've chosen the astrologer as like the representation of like past life church situation. So even when people have an adamant opinion about something, I find it's usually tied to some drama or trauma in their chart. And they haven't necessarily chosen it with real, exploration.
Yeah.
It just fit the bill of the bad guy. Yeah. It's interesting stuff. So what do you feel like, are you seeing themes in people's dreams? I guess going back to the dream topic, you have this unique position. It's almost like everyone's mind cap is off and you can see in their dreams. Like, are you finding trends in your work, particularly in the last year with Saturn and Pisces?
What I have seen isn't so much like specific themes or trends, which I think a lot of people expect, that there's, very specific themes and trends in our waking life. And so it would stand to reason that you would see them. What I would say that I've experienced, because of the way that I work with dreamers today, which is mostly in a monthly dream circle that has different people come in, and on my podcast, I do dreams. What I would say that Saturn in Pisces did was turned everybody's dream experience up.
Okay.
Right? So there
I
were
agree.
more dreams, more intense dreams. But here's the thing about dreaming. People have a vocabulary and style of dreaming.
Yeah. Their own language.
I dream in community. Every dream I have is a dream about community. I'm in community somewhere, right? So I think someone positing what might be happening out there, like a media person going, gee, I wonder if dreams are interesting they're going to imagine that because there was, like, say, the pandemic, that people would be dreaming about the pandemic. Well, they weren't. They were dreaming about intensities, but in each of their personal style. It wasn't like they were dreaming more, apocalyptic landscapes or, disease-related dreams because it was COVID. Just everybody's dream experience was amplified because there was more unconscious processing of stress.
Right. Totally. I found, I see that too in people, but I also found that like people realize they're in the plague, like realize the past life, I felt like a lot of people were facing past life disease trauma, whether it's from having your leg sawed off in the Civil War to, to dying of a disease, to abandoning a family member because you died of a disease. It seemed like, COVID especially, COVID really brought everyone's fear of disease to the surface, period. Everyone collectively seemed to process that, whatever that was. I don't know if it was being witnessed in dreams, but it certainly was coming up in readings.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I think that the pandemic was in some ways one of the best things that happened to us from a place of consciousness.
Yeah.
It forced everybody on the planet to have to reckon with something that was greater than their individual embodiment. And while not everybody was up to the task, it does open up the human psyche for a new experience and expression, which we, Pluto and Aquarius, will carry us through.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Pluto and Aquarius since you brought up what are your impressions? What are you looking forward to with this transit? It's been quite a long time since the United States, United States was founded on Pluto and Aquarius, really, after the Revolutionary War. So we are, France shortly after. So there's certainly a revolutionary aspect to Pluto and Aquarius.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that from that perspective of the intensity of the United States, I was so captivated by the Pluto return of the United States. I'm really glad to hear you remind us that while the Pluto return at 27 Capricorn is the challenge of the United States, and the Pluto return revealed so much of the shadow of the country, I'm glad to be reminded by you that our juicy creation, the vibrant years of creating this unusual experimental country, was Pluto in Aquarius. I had not thought of that, Christopher. So thank you. That's landing in me to kind of, shift how I carry this.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I feel like that's the magic of it. And I also feel like, Pluto and Aquarius was George Washington's first 2 terms, the fact he stepped down. So much of the precedent of the United States was simply creating precedent in Pluto and Aquarius, which to me, the forefathers have been like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. Like it was a lot. It feels like if you study the different histories and whatnot, I mean, from the creating of our banking system, everything, we sort of felt our way through it with Pluto and Aquarius. And by the time Pluto into Pisces, it was like, well, what have we done?
No, this is very hope-inducing for me, Christopher, and it's going to inform me a little bit because, the newness of America was extraordinary.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Right? Brand new idea. Let our reinvention be as dramatic and powerful and I don't know what the other word is, but it's something like, and good for human beings.
Yeah, humanitarian.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe be a humanitarian country.
I feel we've been, I think Pluto and Capricorn scored how dirty we've been. Revealed just how dirty now, a lot of us knew that already who went to college. We learned the secrets from our professors. We're not what we say we are to the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
We've been living, we know, educated knows that we got a lot of dirty secrets and rich people don't pay taxes and all sorts of stuff. Like Pluto and Capricorn revealed all that. So I think it put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But I personally feel, just from an energetic perspective, having been born, where I'm born in 73, like the bicentennial of, right. I remember the bicentennial in 76. Like, I literally remember as a kid, like in Hollywood was for that fireworks, that the United States is very special. I feel like it's almost the reincarnation of Atlantis. And yeah, you saw our darkest hour, our Pluto, in this last mile of it. So not even the forefathers saw just how dark it really was. They were living in their own bubble. You know what I mean? But I do believe that we're meant to still lead the light of, the world, in the sense of light coming together, laws that allow that, a system that's balanced enough to squeeze out someone who's negative, and let the right person come forward. And I do feel like that's intact. I mean, anything the last, few years have said this is intact. We may go back and forth, but nothing stays stuck.
Yeah. And what I hear you sort of like setting the stage for is the idea that we need a reinvention. We are in a reinvention. And we're in the moment of that reinvention process where we're just in the chaos and the destruction. And we have this sort of 20 years essentially to build a new version. And we can be hopeful for that. I also think that, I don't know if this relates exactly to the political climate that's challenging. I think that when we look at the Earth herself and the challenges that we put her through, only technology can save us.
Oh, you feel so? You don't feel if we just stopped, she'd just snap back?
No, I think we've way past the point. I think we are, I think that we're past the point of no return in terms of our use of greenhouse gases, the idea that coastlines are changing I think if we stopped today, we'd still see more melting.
Yeah. Although we've been melting since the Ice Age.
Well, yes, but still, if we need to make new crazy things on the planet that protect human life, it's technology that will allow us to navigate around the changes in the climate that are difficult and challenging. And so I agree. I love the idea that even just in the last few, what has it been? 30 seconds since Pluto's been in Aquarius and technology's exploded. We have that new chip that just got, announced, last week. So it's also important to remember that while Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, don't forget about the rebirth part. It's easy to focus on Pluto will kill and destroy the landscape, but he will also rebuild it at the same time. And I like the elegance of Capricorn first. Structures get
plan of God,
down
where material's gone too far.
We rebuild something new and unique.
Well, where material for material's sake's gone too far. Yeah. Pluto to me is the final line. So Capricorn's final line with power, final line with materialism, final line with abusing the earth for its raw materials, basically digging out that mountain for Tesla batteries, like caving out the mountain for Tesla. But I also have felt since I was born that it was going to be just fine. Like, I feel like it's all part of God's plan. It's a very magical experience. I personally see Aquarius as higher frequencies than we normally can tune into. such as like seeing other colors outside the spectrum of our own color system. I feel like there's vibration beyond what we see. And part of that is that we're part of a galactic community. I do feel like, some of that technology might just be our brothers and sisters from another planet who are just like, we did the same thing. Try this, like, and help us clean the atmosphere. And perhaps it's overnight, I don't know if you get into the ancient history of Earth, but allegedly Earth was terraformed by who was on Mars. And so Earth was just a water planet. It was made into what it is today. So I definitely believe there is technology that's going to bring her back, and that she always had a hall pass, but we never knew it.
I've always had that like I don't dwell in those rooms where people are talking about such things like early Earth or Atlantis, but I have always fantasized that what made the most sense to me was that we started on Mars.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think maybe Elon's obsession to go there. Like, I'm not sure. Like,
to go
what does he
home.
know that we don't know? He's like, dark side of the moon and Mars bound. So I'm curious. Yeah, I agree. Although, who knows, maybe, one of the things I hope to happen here, Michael, is that, that for me, I can say this, since Pluto in Aquarius, I have had some Atlantis dreams. I have had some really ancient memories open up. And, how do you know this stuff? Because in the dream, like, you tell me in the dream, and you're not going to say that part of you knows for, even if it's not true, I need to believe it is. So I'm doing it. But my point is I feel like we're going to have perhaps memories open up into this ancient part of Earth and this ancient part of our society, and then maybe it's just been crunched down in the dark ages. So I look at Pluto and Aquarius also as an opening of the envelope, a flowering. The lotus flower opens up and blossoms. But it'll be interesting. But it'll also be probably very uncomfortable. I mean,
well,
don't you think?
What is uncomfortable? He makes us uncomfortable so that we'll change. And so I do like the idea that Pluto in Aquarius allows, I think, more risk to be when moving towards something that might be scary or dangerous, because of the beauty of that archetype is being the risk taker.
Yeah, totally. Well, because I've really studied that. I don't think we as astrologers really understand Aquarius energies very much. I'm wondering what your perception is. I mean, to me, Gemini is the intellect and our thoughts, and Cancer is our emotions, and Leo is our heart, and they all fall into real well-known parts of being human. But what the F is Aquarius?
But it's the awakener. I mean, one of the reasons why I find it very easy to identify with Aquarian as Aquarius and Uranus as an awakening energy was that I had one of those experiences right at 39 and 40 where I was split open energetically, and part of my energy body that speaks through me when I'm teaching, like, got to be in my body for 18 months. And I walked through the world with this kind of lack of feeling material. I wasn't emotionally triggered by anything for 18 months. And I was living this embodied sort of state of Aquarian detachment and higher consciousness. Unfortunately, it wasn't forever. And when it left, because I'd expanded so big, the shadow that I hadn't gotten to was illuminated. And when I came back into my regular embodiment, I had about 2 years of really deep work to do to work with those, addictions, constructs and shadow material that I couldn't get to before. So I woke up, I had the experience, and was watching Uranus on my chart, and it was Pluto crossing my ascendant.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what's the transit?
Yeah, it was Pluto crossing my ascendant.
Wow, and that is death and rebirth.
Yeah, and it was Uranus opposing my Uranus was the sort of, lead
44.
in. That was a little later. But yeah, so having had that experience and living in my body were radically different post 40 than I did from birth to 40.
Yeah.
I just see Uranus itself as the awakener, so that when I'm in session and someone's got a Uranus transit, I'm, always going to put in the language of, you might get knocked on your ass during this. And if you, and as you work with it, move with it, and just go where you're pushed, you will wake up to a higher level of your consciousness.
To me, I agree. I think to me, Uranus is everything your consciousness currently is inside in. So it's like Uranus is like, okay, now we're inside this reality, and that reality is inside of this, and that reality is inside of that. Like Uranus is always, it's pretty much showing you that you're on the wrong dimension, you're on the wrong wavelength, or you're on the right wavelength.
Okay. I love that. Great.
And so if you've been like playing high like you're the shit and you're not, boom, you get knocked down.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't worth this. Just so you know, you don't belong here. I look at it almost as a belonging. I use the word belong for Aquarius because belonging in the context of in the eye of mind, God's mind, belonging in the context of it's like birds of a feather that flock together. If your heartbeat is as one, you belong. If your heartbeat is not as one, you don't belong. And to me, Aquarius is almost the vibrational organization of the universe, which is why humans just don't know crap about it, like vibration. But you walk into a dark alley, you don't belong.
That's
like,
right.
Whoa.
That's right. And
that's an Aquarius
as a vibration, as a sensation.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's our Aquarius awareness, the part that goes, whoa. We don't vibe with this. We don't belong in this vibe. I'm going to knock you down if you don't wake up. It's interesting. So it'll be interesting to see because, back when Pluto was in Aquarius the last time, our forefathers thought like this. We read about it. Their minds were all over the map. They used astrology. I often am, compelled by the dates they chose to choose a president. It was in Pisces originally when the president is inaugurated, and then they have the election during Scorpio. Like I think that's all conscious but unspoken about their wisdom of the universe. But the difference between then and now is now the population has the capacity of the forefathers. Like now we have AI. So if you're dumb, don't worry, AI will tell you.
That's right.
And if you're not dumb, great, AI will make you realize how smart you already are. But like now with this Pluto Aquarius, this round, what's different is we're all educated.
We're all available to the wisdom and the information for better or for worse.
For lack of a better purpose, democracy could not have even worked until now. The idea of democracy is great, but if all the people are operating with different information, education, and awakening, then you really didn't have a chance for democracy. So I feel like this is the first time we're going to see we the people in action, or at least having an effect.
I love the idea of just we the people as a motto, and the age of Aquarius, or Aquarius as the creator of the community. If there's one archetype of the Zodiac that can say we the people, it's Aquarius.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's about we the people, we the gathered, we the community, we the whole.
Yeah, and there literally is no I, like the I is assumed in the we.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is interesting. Because, and that's something I was looking at for next year for my countdown 2025, where I do my thing for my people and tell you the whole year. I think this is the birth of the we-go. And what I mean by that is like the ego is always made I separate. And to me, the we-go is the I's included in the we. Okay. That it's a spiritual perspective that we've never taken of knowing that we are all one. No, will it happen, next year? No,
I'd like to say we have 2,000 years to get it right.
Oh, I think what makes significance. Just if one country believes, we'll see what's possible. I do feel like, I don't know if you're seeing this in your communities, but there's a lot of people who want to create communities, like, out in the mountains, like start over. I'm like, I'm not going to go to the bathroom in an outhouse. I'm sorry. But there is that sort of like compulsion, but it's like, to me, it's like, again, it's like colonies. It's like pilgrims. It's like, I think we are anxious to reinvent society.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how does in your life, the two come together? Are you literally doing dream interpretation and then looking at a chart? Do you merge the two together?
No, it's in terms of the practicalities of it. I only do a dream interpretation with a client if they bring one. And there are many of my clients know what I do with the dreams and are avid dreamers. They will bring, but I never initiate doing both within my single client experience. And part of that really is that I've had clients where people just came to do dream work, but astrology became like this enormous business. Right?
Yeah,
so
no,
I didn't pursue nurturing more people coming to me to do private dream interpretation. But I do like a monthly dream circle, which is really small and intimate, but different people come, a lot of regulars too. So that once a month I'm in the world of interpreting dreams, more for my joy of doing that work. So in some ways it's taken a back seat in terms of the working one-on-one, and it's a little bit more about books that I write and help that I give. So yeah, I don't blend them as much as one might think.
Yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't know. I feel like for dreams, they sort of seem like to some degree, a tool for the dark ages. And I mean that in the best way. Like, I think life was so hard and so severe. Our dreams where we could get away, we could learn, we could fantasize, we could, imagine the world we wish the world was. And I feel like now we're more empowered and awake than ever. So if anything, it's like, do you feel like dreaming is going to be part of our waking life to some degree, that the 12th and the 6th are kind of merging a little bit?
Well, I will say this, that my own experience in this body is that as I've gotten higher in my sort of meditative states to higher dimensions that transcend where I used to be able to get higher colors, above the colors into geometry, I began to then live my daily waking life more archetypally, as if my living waking life was a dream. And why that's valuable is it gives a bit of distance to experiences when triggered. So that when you're living as archetypally as life is a dream, then someone comes into your space and brings you conflict, there's already an interpretive posture ready to be sort of inhabited, where you don't fuck you for blah, blah, blah. You go, oh, how interesting. I'm having a conversation with a part of myself that's bringing rage, right? And so, or seeing life events and interpreting them as if they were a living dream. I do this personally. That's how I live. And I certainly teach people to do that. And then when it comes to actually working with dreams as a dream worker with people, it's always about helping them find where their shadow conflicts are knowable, where they're not knowable in the waking life trigger experience. Like, I'm not interested in your fabulous dreams of visiting other realms or flying through, Disneyland. I'm interested in the dream where you got your hands around your mother's throat and you're,
Yeah, common for everyone. No, I'm kidding. No, actually, and that you bring up the topic that I want to dive a little deeper into, which is shadow work, because, as an optimist, I didn't look at my shadow. I didn't want to. I lived in it. It smelled like poop. I don't care about it anymore. I ignored it. And it's not that I didn't have desire to be 100% pure and smell like roses. I did. But I realized with my shadow work, it always had to be forced upon me. God had to tackle me, knock me down, punch me out, completely pin me, without being able to move for me to even look at it. And I want to know what your opinion of it. At the end of the day, it was simply all the stuff I was afraid of looking at.
Yeah, that's all it is, really. First of all,
stuff you're afraid of.
You call the shadow poop, and I'm like, I just fell in love. I mean, that's me. I talk about it all the time. It's like, it's your poopy smell. Because poopy smell is a perfect example of something that is not only natural, ubiquitous, it's also creative. It's a creative act. I put something here, I make something with it, comes out there. What do you say to a kid when he's pooped in the toilet at 2 years old? You're like, good, you made that thing. You made it. You made it.
Make that shadow.
Make it there all the time. So I often use poop as a kind of cute sort of stand-in for the things we don't want to look at. And I can certainly remember certainly the first decade of my adulthood, nothing happened until I was pushed into the corner. But I was pushed into the corner quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting because, I have a theory. I'm wondering what your take on it is that everything to the first Saturn return is pretty much past life. So to me, it's like every time I pooped was an example, was an example of an entirely poopy lifetime, was an example of the biggest poopy mistake I'd ever made. It's almost like it was like notes to yourself. Every little pile of poop was like, and don't forget this, you don't want to shit in the corner or marry something that smells like this because you're going to be unhappy the rest of your life. And so it seemed like everything went wrong in the 20s, really, even though they went quite right and made it to 30. To me, it's more about all these emotional, almost remembering, all the spots, really planting the seeds of all the shadow. You're going to work on this and you're going to work on that. And later in your 30s, you're going to work on this.
Yeah. I had a kind of an explosion into my own shame work at around 32. And that was sort of the linchpin moment where I was sort of stepped into, this is important. Like, I have to devote have to devote myself to this process.
Mhm.
I come
Yeah.
from some chaos, violence, and trauma, and
Yep.
I was a reactive kind of person as a result. And
Yeah.
so, this is actually an interesting story about my perception of me and shadow work. When I was I'm loud. If you
You're
haven't
loud?
loud, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If you
I mean,
haven't noticed.
29 Leo, though, to me, the highest number is the highest energy.
That's
So
right.
you're a
Yes. So,
supernova. Yeah.
yes. So I'm a big personality, loud. I'm also very generous with laughter. I like to laugh and I laugh heartily. When
Yeah.
I was in my 30s and still trapped in rages and unexplored corners of my psyche, I had many, 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 many experiences of being in public places, laughing very loud, and then having restaurants turn their heads at me because I was loud. That doesn't happen anymore. In in my 40s, that just stopped happening. Not that I wasn't loud anymore. I was still as loud as I ever, maybe more so, because I have freedom, because I'm not ashamed of myself anymore. But
Right.
people don't shrink back from my loud laugh that they did when I was in my 20s and early 30s, because that loud laugh was being fueled by disowned rage that wasn't looked at.
Right.
Now that there's, the wounds are healed and there's an integrated experience, and I only have my personality and the unconscious to trouble me, which is plenty, I can laugh heartily and nobody is bothered by it because it's not coming out of the mouth of a man who hasn't explored his shadow.
So you would say your laugh before was maniacal.
Yeah! Still is.
Everyone felt like the Dr. Evil plan underneath that of revenge.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I agree. And I wonder now, so do you attract people who like a loud laugh, or do you attract people, or are
Yes.
you now healed there? And so
Yeah,
your
no,
laugh is
I
more
would
like
say
jolly?
that's one of the pieces of evidence of a cleaned out inside is that, what I attract now in terms of friendships, acquaintances, neighbors. I have a new puppy, and even the dog owners, and I'm easily attracting people who want to connect, who want to talk and listen, who are engaged and engageable exclusively because that's how I'm moving about the world as well. And when I was raged up, all of the shininess of my 29 Leo and my Sag rising attracted lots of people. But because there was disowned shadow, there was a lot of challenge to work through in my interpersonal relationships in those early decades. And
Interesting.
really grateful.
A lot of Sag risings are past life pirates.
Oh,
I get the reading. I get there. I'm like, oh, I see you. So that might
like
have been
literal
maniacal.
pirates?
What's that?
Literal pirates?
Yeah. I mean, I see the flash of them as pirates. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just I don't know. That Sag rising is that pirate's life for me, man.
Maybe.
Now I'm saying all of them. I mean, when I get into a reading and I get in their energy, I just get flashes. I mean, and I share with them what it is, and it always ties into like I always loved Captain Hook. Like their own life they can see those themes in their life. Do you see past lives when you're doing readings?
Here's
Yeah.
here's what happens whenever I have an image or a past life thing or something that feels intuitive. I do something. I'm not even sure why I do this. I mean, I do know why I do this, so I don't know why I said that. I will, instead of saying you had a past life as a this, or I think that this is going to happen or not, something, I literally will report.
Yeah, the image.
When you said blah, 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 I heard the number 5. When you la, 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 I felt blah, blah, blah. When you told that story, I had this image come up of Paris in the 20s. So that I don't ever want to have it in my mouth that like I've got something that's, I just say, here's what I'm experiencing. And then the person can say, well, that feels like a truthful intuition, as opposed to sort of being, it's a power differential. I don't want to hold that projection of like people needing me to be right or intuitively psychic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
You probably have more comfort in that. I already know just from listening to you talk that you're getting. So tell me, how do you, if you're sitting with someone's chart, does it come to you as image? How does it come to you that past life enters the conversation?
Well, first of all, it took a long time to even have the gut to say anything. Because until I had enough of my own awakenings and my own past lives
Yeah.
and could verify myself. And when mine were verified, I would have an image and then someone would come up to me and tell me the same thing. Someone would tell me a reading trade. Like I'd hear about it 4 times in a week. So Spirit was like, yes, just in case you don't get it, this is your past life. And it's like, wow, okay. Once I accepted mine a little bit and just eased into it, like, this is just a narrative. I think it's just here to tell us, what set us up for this part of ourself. Now, when I look at certain aspects in the chart, it's when I look at the aspect, when I look at the planet, boom, vision.
So it is a visionary thing. Oh, I love that.
Total vision. And it's like a sepia look. It doesn't have full color. It's like it has its own language. So like dream language, my psychic side has its own language. And it's like a flash bulb goes off in a room. I see one shot. I know everything going on and it goes to black again.
Yeah.
And then I'm going from my memory basically from there. I used to not say anything, but now I'll just be like, look, I feel like it's this. My experience is this. If it's not this, you need to hear this to start, a lot of times. And a lot of times it's not what I thought. So you have to just not interpret it. I thought forever I was like a court jester. It turned out I was a king, just a funny king, or at least once people felt afraid they better laugh. So, you know what I mean? So it's like my mind will be like, oh, I'm a jester. That makes a total sense. I want to be a stand-up comedian. Yeah. 2 nights walking a bar. But, I don't even necessarily have the same idea, but I think it's opening up now. People, whenever I do that, I just, if I don't have that experience, I don't open my mouth. A lot of times I have a vision and I'll just say it and they'll start laughing out loud so hard. And I thought I was being clever. It turns out it was like the quintessential sign that they needed to hear, or that, exactly what their dad would have done. So I have a good, I get applause usually when I say the image correctly. It brings positive response always.
That's great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm trained like a puppy for it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, here's an idea. But I also just think visually, and I realized now, how do you get readings? Like when you tune in and get a reading, what are you getting psychically in addition to the planets? Because you are clearly very intuitive.
Well, I like to, it's funny because, how I would describe it is, I'll say to people, I'm not psychic, but sometimes my mouth is.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a nice little way out of it.
Well, here's how it works for me. There is this inner energy or guide that I work with. It's not separate from me. It's a part of my embodiment, and I call it teacher. It's an enormous energy. And when I am asked a question, that energy comes straight into me and I can feel everything speeds up. My voice speeds up. My gestures speed up. I get louder and I get more animated. And this happens when someone is saying, read my chart or read the transits for 2024. Or if somebody asks me which way is Sunset Boulevard. It's this profound ask me a question consciousness, and then this energy is just there. So when I'm doing a session, it's almost like there's nothing happening except that I sit down in the chair and then connect, do the prayer, and then I just start talking. And I'm triple tasking. I'm listening. I'm looking at the progress chart. I'm looking at the transits, and I'm just talking. And my experience of it is that I'm just talking with the person for 45 minutes, and I'm not cognizant of, in the way that you asked, how am I getting things? I'm letting teacher use my body. And it's not like I'm unconscious, and it's not like I come out the other side going, oh my God, I don't remember anything. What did I say? Because I've met people like that, and it's like, you're full of shit, because it doesn't work that way. But I do have a strong sense that it's not coming from me, but through me. And I don't remember anything, not from blackout place, but I just can't remember. Someone will write me an email on a Wednesday, detailed from a conversation on Monday, and I'd be like, who is this? What is she talking about?
I said that. Yeah.
So from that perspective, from what I've just described, that's really what it is for me, is simply letting that energy enter me and speak. And it feels like a whirlwind. I have some challenges these days. I have long COVID. I have an autoimmune syndrome called Sjogren's that's why I keep popping these little things in my mouth. I'm not taking ecstasy. It's lozenges.
Give me some of that. Send that.
I can't make saliva. Yeah. So life is life.
The torso me's like, damn, dry mouth forever.
Argue with the body. But,
yeah.
So very often, like the hours between 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. are the difficult time for me in the day. I wake up early. I do my Red Robe Astrology video and my, all of the preparation work. I do all the progression notes, and then I have some rest time. And in the last 2 years since COVID, that rest time's just been awful. I'm tired. I'm emotional. I'm sad for being tired. And then I do a session and I feel completely different. And it's like I'm literally thinking about next year making my first appointment earlier than 11.
Oh, interesting. I used to have that same syndrome. Not the saliva syndrome, but I was I was born 11:21 a.m. and I used to say I'm no good till 11:21 a.m.
Well, 11 was like my sweet spot for years.
Yeah, me too. I didn't start
anymore.
It was the first reading.
The point is, the thing that's exciting for me is that I know that no matter how I'm feeling, if I can get to the chair, and there are days where I can't, my energy's not good enough and I have to reschedule. But if I can get to the chair, no matter how I'm feeling, 45 minutes later, I'm going to feel way different.
Yeah, no, you definitely get stoned for the reading. Like the universe sends you this wonderful, happy energy. I completely identify with your story about high school. I was giving high school girls readings about their boyfriends, and I don't know where it's coming from. And part of me felt like I was lying to them, but part of me knew I wasn't. And so it's like, no, it's not that. It's that he's into some girl named, I think, Jessica in second hour. You know what I mean? Like, that bitch. And then come find, like, you were right. He's been passing her notes. And I'm just like, oh, I've got something here. Then when astrology came, it was like, oh, here's a language for these things I'm picking up on. Yeah. Thank God. That's called Mars. Okay. I felt that in people. So it really helped me organize that spectrum. But I will say this. I had the singular voice too, but it began dividing. Like it began to, for me, the teacher became specific, archangels, personalities. It took a while, but there was a point when I just had greater fidelity to those signals and I could just feel coming in and out energy. There is like an old classic voice that comes in and teaches. I know who that is. But I'm just saying, I think it's interesting how it shifts. I'd be curious to see if the spectrum goes for you too. I imagine it's a matter of timing.
Well, yeah. And one of the exciting things about being in a body is that there could be never-ending expansion of how you operate in that. And so one of the things that I have Aquarius and Leo are intercepted in my chart. So I consider my Aquarius second house space very precious.
Well, I would say it's about to be unpacked with Pluto. Would you agree?
Yes, but I like that. I'm excited because, again, the elegance of it. I've already had Pluto cross my ascendant, ripping me open from the inside out and putting me back together in a new form. And then I had Pluto crossing my first house for 7,000 years.
Yeah, my sixth.
Your sixth?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's beating me up. I was just hospitalized 3 weeks ago. It never seems to.
That's right, dude.
Yeah. That's Pluto in the goddamn six.
Yeah.
Fuck,
so
it's just
I'm
merciless.
looking forward to Pluto in my intercepted space because I think it will help uplift, upgrade, and expand my antenna.
I agree. And I'll throw this out there. I hope I'm not saying too much, but your Saturn in Aquarius, can I speak to that?
Yeah, please.
I think Saturn Aquarius is like past life, Atlantis knowledge. And I don't think you can become an authority of an Aquarius. How the hell do you become an authority of vibration in the last 20,000 years? You couldn't have. It could have been like, how do you have that memory and ability as a soul unless it goes to the ancient past? But if it's impacted and it, like it has been for you, I would imagine it would be kept from you as a complete secret until now.
Well, now I'm looking
from you.
Forward. I'm looking forward to Pluto getting to 18 Aquarius.
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting. That's a wizard. I mean, if you were getting a reading from me, I'd be like, you're a wizard.
Sweet.
You're an ancient wizard that have forgotten. You know, I personally don't like Placidus, so I'll look at it, but I won't stay on it. I like equal, but we all, yeah, we all have our ways of reading the energy. You know, some people need to be naked, whatever. You know, like whatever it is to get a good read, you're gonna get
And
a
I
good
just
read.
learned on Placidus, and that's it. Like it's really that's it. I learned on Placidus, so I'm a Placidus dude. And
I learned
you
on
know,
Placidus
30
too.
years ago, and like I said, I'm not old dog, no new tricks.
Well, if you
Inner
do a good
tricks, inner tricks, yes.
look,
But
I've had great readings from a candle wax dripping in a bottle of water. So it's like whatever gives you the goddamn read, man, give it to me. I don't think it really matters. Everyone's got their tricks, you know, and like, hey, do it your way. If you're good and you're sharp and you help me, I'm buying. You know, and that's a good transition right now for you. Like you are booking readings, is that correct?
yes, booking readings. I'm booked through March right now, so it takes a few months to get on my calendar, but I'm
Yep.
available. MichaelLennox.com is where everything is.
Perfect.
I do a we have a sort of a special for your audience. I do
Thank you.
a daily email about the day's astrology called the Daily Astro Alerts.
All
This is
right.
how I learned. I
Yeah.
had one teacher. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I am self-taught. The
Yeah.
internet is really what happened. It was the
Yeah.
90s, and suddenly the internet was exploding with data about astrology. So that's how I learned. And then I knew Stephanie Azaria, who was my teacher, and I had some classes with her and some privates with her. But she did a daily description of the astrological transits, and I read that thing every day for 10 years, and I learned so much. So
Yeah.
I started doing that. So I do a daily description, very detailed. I don't leave anything out. It's called the Daily Astro Alerts. They're very
I love
dense,
it.
not for everybody. They're definitely heavy duty astrology, but I'm a teacher. So that
Yeah.
if someone gets these and wants to learn astrology, they will teach you. So
Yes.
if you go to michaellennox.com and you go to the Daily Astro Alert section and click on getting up the Daily Astro Alert and use Namaste 30.
Namaste 30.
Namaste 30. This is for you. You'll get a free month off. It's $10 a month.
Wow.
And you
Great.
get them every night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the next day. And the Red Robe Astrology videos that I do on social media in the mornings are based on the outlines from those.
Great. So there's like a follow-up. And then you have also your own podcast, do you not?
Yeah, Conscious Embodiment, Astrology and Dreams with Dr. Michael Lennox. And that's information is also there on the website. And it's everywhere. You can get your podcast. It comes out Sundays at midnight. Been doing that for about 2 years now, I think. Something like
People
that.
love that. It's amazing how podcasts have evolved because it's like, first of all, I think talk radio is dead. You know, my grandparents grew up listening to talk radio. Now people have their favorites. They subscribe to your podcast. They listen in. It's on their way to work. It's in the shower. Like they work it into their lives. It's a really interesting, who would have known for us, right? Like, okay. So that's great. So lots of ways to access you. I think that the daily alerts are probably the best way because you're going to get you're giving us a whole month off. So
Yeah, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to get information about what the energy is going to feel like. And because I'm a psychologist and I talk about sensation, I'm speaking the language of how it's going to feel. So it's not about what you think might happen that day. It's what you're working with, what's possible, what's the guidance for the day. And I love writing them, and I love doing the videos. So, hey,
it's great.
yeah.
Keeps you tuned. I know.
Yeah. And my classes, I teach shadow work and self-investigation. I have like 8 or 9 classes that I teach each year. And so we've created the schedule for 25. And so you can find out about the classes I'm teaching as well.
Terrific. I get a real sense, folks, that the shadow work is going to be great with him.
Yeah,
you just seem like you've gone through a bit, brother. So
I have. And I'm also guileless. You can't shock me.
Right. Okay, great.
You can't shock me.
This is the king who's seen it. I mean, 29-degree Leo to me is a past life reincarnated king. And to me, that's what it feels like. You can't reach that height without having been in absolute power before. You're obviously comfortable in it. And with you, it's like played out in knowledge. Like, so it's almost like Merlin and Arthur got into one in this life. That's what you feel like. So I encourage everyone to check him out. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Michael Lennox. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you. And stay after stage. We'll backstage for a minute. We'll say goodbye there.
Thanks, you. Will do.
Thank you.
For having me.
How can you not enjoy a Leo energy on camera, especially with another Leo? We were having a good time. My mouse died during the interview, so I was having a hard time switching between my notes. So if you saw me wiggling and jiggling, I know Adam was trying to hide that from everyone, but sometimes it's impossible if you lose technology mid-show. Let me just switch to my notes here, make sure everything's correct here, and we'll move on to the close. Namaste Today. So I don't have it up yet. I wanted to by the show, but I don't. But I'll just go ahead and tease it right now. My Countdown 2025 webinar, as Michael and I were talking about, it's coming soon. It's at senseiChristopher.com. It's not quite up yet. I'll do a little bit of a lower price for the early birds, but this is where I'm going to go into the whole next year. And it was great talking to Michael about this tonight. I feel like this is the birth of the ego this next year. I think this is a whole new conscious shift. My third eye has seen a lot. When I look at the planets, I get something from my third eye that I've never seen before. I'll talk about that. And this is me going over the entire year ahead of time. It is recorded. You have access to it. And now we're doing a thing where if you want to ask a question, it's an extra price and only like 6 or 7 to 8 questions are answered. So it's more of a workshop in the end with people who purchase questions, because otherwise it can go on forever. I've done like 5 hours of this and kill myself. But that'll be at senseiChristopher.com. I'll send out, if you're on our newsletter, you'll find out about it as it goes live, probably here sooner than later, between now and the next time I'm on camera with you. Now, speaking of on camera, I am back on camera on LOL, leading out loud with my buddy Scott Cruz. We had a great time talking about Ascension yesterday. I don't know if you caught it. By the way, this is the show where I will cuss, and I will be my truest self, unedited self. So, sometimes things come out of my mouth, but we talked about Ascension and what is that really about? And is it a legit thing? And I thought we had a great conversation. If you're curious about it, that's live right now. You can take a look. Also, we have our White Light Friday sale still in effect till December 20th. That means if you sign up for SeriousJoy.com, with music and everything, sign up for SeriousJoy.com for $3.99. You'll get it for both months for $3.99. Usually it's $3.99 for the first month. So we're giving you 60 days to give it a try. And if nothing else, just come for the coaching and the guidance I'm giving on Mars retrograde in Leo. Like, I'm really getting deep right now. We're holding our customers' hands and a huge cast of wonderful teachers and characters on Serious Joy. In fact, one of those characters, we just wrapped up part of our shoot today. It's Robbie Hunt. Next Wednesday, we'll be having the Self-Study Hall Zodiac Mega Monthly Show. So basically, we're going to be talking about, sorry, wrong cue there, the Zodiac Mega Monthly Show. That was her last week's show, by the way. But nonetheless, we'll be talking about the month ahead, what Capricorn is going to mean. Her and I are recording this. We'll have a live broadcast to our website. We just added chat to Serious Joy. So now we have chat and direct messaging, which we're really excited about. So we're really bringing around this whole experience. It's worth $3.99 a month for the next 2 months. We hope you can sign up. And I guess we don't have graphics for that, but we will. No worries. Robbie and I together. One other thing I want to talk about too is we have a phenomenal new show called Sovereign Revolution, which is starring Krista Marie. She is channeling the spirit of Mary Magdalene. That is Christ's second half, or better half, frankly, right? No thunder, I guess I'm okay. And Krista is coming out 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mary Magdalene speaks to the step number. I mean, that's what blows my mind away, is that Mary Magdalene knows the steps. It took me a minute. And then I realized, I didn't invent these. I channeled these. Duh. So it's very interesting to hear about perspective of what I teach from another realm. And Krista is quite a historian herself. She is so educated on all those periods of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene's life, and she's always incorporating her teachings as well. And right now it's the pillar system. We'll talk more about that. So check it out. So many reasons to come to SeriousJoy.com, especially over the holidays when things are kind of reruns on TV and you may want to walk down that path of enlightenment. We thank you. Also thanking you. Sharing is caring. That's the best way to actually get us moving forward. We want to grow and be introduced to people who are interested in astrology and interested in other things. The best way you can help us get to them is to share. We put out our horoscopes every Tuesday, so you can cut out your horoscope, share with a friend, just say, hey, take a look at this. I was thinking of you when I heard him talk about this, and that helps us grow. Every time I ask a person, how'd you find out about Serious Joy? They always tell me a person's name. Very interesting. Also, if you want to be part of our Facebook group, we have a lot of changes coming. SeriousJoy.club is a Facebook group. It's open to everyone. You can advertise your spiritual business there as much as you like, as long as you are authentic and true. And we have now started acquiring curators. So we're going to have people deliberately combing the internet, finding all the great spiritual stuff and bringing it to SeriousJoy.club. We want to be this free social place where you're learning about the greatest and best of light work. Also, if you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I will follow you. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on everywhere. Just come to seriousjoy.social and you'll have a link to everywhere we are currently on the internet, including my own personal Sensei real media, instant social media. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, well, we do an audio version of this show every week and release it on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. All right, friends. I want to say special thanks to our co-executive producer, Diane DeStefano, to our graphics, our casting, our chat moderation. We're so grateful, basically, to all of our team. Thank you for stepping up for graphics, Adam. Thank you, Burgundy, for helping us with all of that as well. And also thank you to Sydney for now being our moderator. Thanks to our multiverse director, Adam Turner. He is always kicking Astro and taking names and also playing hockey as well in a hot zone. Don't ask me how that happens. And our teaching staff, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Gwen English, and Daiki Okamoto, my lovely, loyal faculty. All right, friends, that's all we have for this week. I think it's going to be a special week. I want to say a special thanks to all the people who come up and show up in our super chat. Jill Louise and Margot and Experimental Elemental and Erica and Michelle Camper and Michelle Bell and my soul brother, Dale Breakenship. Didn't see you tonight, but I'm sure you're there. Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, Sydney, and Iggy, and Nitu too. We're grateful for you. We'll be back in 1 week. Go draw that story of a lifetime. Go live that dream. And when I come back next week, we'll be facing winter and some hard Capricorn realities. Until then, I love you. Live, love, be.
It's